Jeremiah Love breaks free. Jeremiah Love trying to go 98. Touchdown! What a run in the first touchdown of the 12-team playoff.
This is 365 Sports.
Daniels keeps it, and he scores.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Underneath, Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown, Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson buys some time. There's the tight end again, rumbling towards the end zone, and the touchdown for Ancio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Dig deep. Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik with a touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We have a lot of quarterback news today on players being given the number one job at QB1 when it comes to certain schools. And then there's also drama, but we're not really sure exactly how much when it comes to John Mateer, the head or the quarterback at Oklahoma in Norman. Thanks to Batteries Plus and all of our sponsors for what we do every day on 365 Sports. And for those of you today joining us, watching us in any way and wherever you are. Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina inside the studio today, taking you up until 6 o'clock. So, late yesterday evening, the story about John Mateer and the possibility that he may have gambled on some games through his Venmo account. I honestly don't know if any of this is true. Is it a hoax? Is it true? How much is true? What does it mean? And that remains to be seen. But here's the first note about John Mateer responding to allegations that he once participated in sports gambling, saying they are false. Venmo descriptions did not accurately portray the transactions in question, but were instead inside jokes between me and my friends. I have never bet on sports. I understand the seriousness of the matter, but recognize that taken out of context, those Venmo descriptions suggest otherwise. I can assure my teammates, coaches, and officials at the NCAA that I have not engaged in any sports gambling. Meanwhile, Oklahoma saying that they know about the allegations about John Mateer and also saying that they have not been told about any investigation when it comes to the NCAA looking into them as well as far as the transactions. And we now also, here's another one, unaware of any of the investigation. No reason to believe there is one pending whatsoever. Paul, Craig, tell me how you feel about this, and we'll figure it out. I'm sure this won't take too long to find the truth.
I think that, it's pretty easy. But that gets a peanut, or I don't know. It just doesn't seem like there's a lot of there. And I know the story got run with, but again, his story is very believable on the other end. Just given the fact that I send money back and forth to my friends for stuff all the time, and I never say what it's actually for. Is it immature and dumb for him as a college quarterback to say, yeah, it's for sports gambling? Yeah, sure. It is. But until they can prove that he did it, then I don't think there's anything that they can do. It does give Oklahoma fans a bunch of agita, nerves about, this quarterback they're really excited about. But, what is this other than a couple of Venmo transactions that we don't even know what they're for? And if he just sending him cash, it's not like he could have made the bet with him. Like, I bet you $25 that UCLA beats USC, and then he just sends him $25. Yes, that's sports gambling, but he wasn't using FanDuel or something like that.
Yeah, Iowa State and Iowa probably look at this and be interested how this all turns out, because they had guys who were actually suspended and no longer playing for what happened, a summer or two ago.
But they were using very easily traceable apps, as where all this is John Mateer putting down in the description of what he sent money to this guy for that it was sports gambling.
Well, maybe he should be suspended for being stupid for putting that inside of his Venmo account.
It's immature and silly, but it proves nothing. It proves absolutely nothing. So I don't know. Craig, go ahead.
This is clearly a smear campaign, and John Mateer would never, and Oklahoma's never broken rules, would never break rules. And so this is all just, again, an attempt to get Brent Venables, who's clearly on the upswing, out of the way of the rest of the SEC. No, in all seriousness, this really, I guess my first thought brought back memories of Adrian Peterson and Rhett Bomar.
Yep.
Back in the day when it wasn't this exact date, but it was like the first week of August back in the early 2000s when Oklahoma was right in their biggest probably momentum stretch that they had been on in years and years, because they had won the national title in 2000 and then pretty much were like a number one team on and off again, or expected to be in the national title game or win the national title for like a good 5 year stretch following that. And played for titles, played against LSU, got beat, played against USC, got beat, and that was all in this same time frame. And so, it brings me back to the early 2000s and being on the cusp of what was supposed to be a very exciting football season with Rhett Bomar and Adrian Peterson, these two 5-star talents that they were about to take Oklahoma to the mountaintop and win another national title for Bob Stoops and company. And the next thing you know, there's the big red motor story that comes out, and it's like, what? And I can only imagine what a story like that, well, now it wouldn't matter. They'd just be commercial spokespersons for Big 12 Motors. They would do exactly what they did back then, absolutely no work whatsoever, but they could get paid for it. And I guess the work would probably be just appearing in a commercial, which they weren't allowed to be in back then. So, yeah, that's where it takes me back to, although it's a much different college football, because what they got in trouble for doesn't matter now. But sports gambling, that'll get you in trouble in the pros. Like, that's the big no-no, right? So initially I got a little bit of like PTSD from just going, oh my gosh, is this going to be another situation where the quarterback gets swept out from under your feet right before the season starts? And so as a fan, that's kind of how I reacted. And then I started looking into it more, and I just have a lot of different thoughts. I mean, for one, have y'all checked y'all's Venmo privacy?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have.
Because I've been looking at all y'all's accounts. Y'all are some dirty MFers. No, I'm just kidding. If you didn't know, you can see people's Venmos.
But I said before, I don't know. Like, sometimes I'll send like just a money emoji, like I needed to pay you for this. But quite often, especially if I went to high school with you, the description I send you is not really what I owe you the money for. It's something stupid, So again, the only thing they can prove is that he said he sent him money for sports gambling, not that he actually gambled, based on the evidence that we have in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, guys, is like, I think everybody's getting like way too far ahead of themselves. Like, there's no NCAA, but well, how could there be? We just found this out last night. So,
there was the report that they'd launched an investigation, and Oklahoma nixed that earlier today by saying they have heard of nothing when it comes to that. You're right.
That's my point, is like, fast. Okay, maybe if the NCAA had caught wind of this and it's been out there and in their universe for a while, then this finally pops out. But I don't think that like ripping the mask off was just some guy on a Venmo account just all of a sudden like miraculously stumbling upon this open NCAA investigation. Mm-hmm. I mean, so yeah, the investigation piece, I don't think we'd know right now if they were under investigation because it's all happened so quickly. I think there is an opportunity or there's a chance here that John Mateer was just a dumb young kid. I mean, he didn't just put sports gambling, guys. Wasn't one of those, like, specifically UCLA and USC. So, like, I don't know that he's like, just wait 4 years from now when I'm the starting quarterback at Oklahoma and they look through my Venmo publicly and then they see this. Boy, is this a great elaborate prank I'm pulling? Of course not. So, did he probably gamble on something? Yeah, it's quite possible. Can they prove it, though?
That's my
Probably
point.
not. So, yeah, I mean, if they can't prove that that's actually what it was for, to Paul's point, then I think this is much ado about nothing. I don't think it's surprising, though, that we're talking about a story like this because of the prevalence of gambling now. And just it's all over the place. And college football is starting to sink its teeth into it. And once they can get more of it, they're going to gobble up more because it's more money. And so I think we're going to have problems like this on pretty much a yearly basis, whether it's an Iowa State-like situation or something kind of out of nowhere like this one. But yeah, my immediate thought was going back to the 2000s, and I guess that would have been like, was that like 06, I think, with Rhett Bomar? So they had been kind of past their natty run that I was talking about, but it was in that same ballpark. And I remember that clear as day, dude. I was so excited about the season, and then out of nowhere, this Rivals report comes out on Bomar and all that, and I could not believe it.
Weren't they moving Paul Thompson to a different position?
Yeah, he played wide receiver.
Yeah. But like then he had to come back and like
played
quarterback again because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, he became like a fan favorite for the rest of his life because he saved them in a hell of a messy situation. Yeah. So yeah, Paul Thompson was like the savior and actually was pretty good. And they still were successful, just not to the national championship degree. But yeah, that's where it took me back to. But all the rest of it, as we're kind of sorting out here, like I don't know how you can prove it. I don't know how we'd even know if there was an investigation already launched because I feel like they'd be reacting to it just like everybody else last night. And and if he was doing it, I'm not surprised. But if you can't prove it, then I don't know how you can punish him for it. And most of all, what I feel like is whoever was digging through that is the lamest mofo on the planet, because I get the college football fan and
somebody
Premier League fan,
have you seen John Mateer's
like NFL fan? Like everybody's got their extremists, everybody's got their crazies, and college football is in many ways, much like with a lot of different moving parts, is a lot like European football. Now the fanaticism is not quite as extreme because we're not having riots and things like that, but there are some parallels you can draw, and the obsessiveness and the weirdness certainly comes out here. from the extreme side of fans because, somebody was either tipped off by somebody else who was digging through John Mateer's Venmo or came across John Mateer's Venmo or I don't know. But that's not something I would stumble upon necessarily.
It is either a work of Bob Woodward level journalism or it's the biggest loser in the entire world.
If it could be somebody that doesn't like him, that knows, that said something to somebody else, that's how simple it is.
That's my point. It's like it's one of two extremes. It's either, which it's not, the best journalist in the world doing some digging after he found some other information, and this is the first thing, which it's not, or it is an absolute basement-dwelling loser who goes through Venmo accounts.
Well, I know one thing. I've seen a lot of cheerleading that they hope it's true.
Well, of course.
I've seen fans, of course. You're going to have rivals that like, oh, my God. And then again, I don't know. I do know this. I went to my Venmo. Mine has been on private from day one. So I'm glad you brought that up for those of you who do have Venmo.
That's interesting because I looked at yours and that wasn't necessarily true. I could see many of your transactions. But
no, you cannot.
I sure as hell could. I mean, I couldn't see probably all of them, but I could see several going back to like a couple of years ago because I went and looked. And so I set mine to private as a result of this story. So if there's a lesson to be learned today,
I have it.
Go check your Venmo.
It says private right here.
Well, I can tell you, I looked at it last night and I know what I saw. And I saw like transactions dating back a couple of years. So,
well, good. I did bet on USC and UCLA and I lost that.
So I think John Mateer, you know what, if I'm Venmo, I put him on my commercial and say, let this be a reminder that we do have privacy settings on our Venmo accounts, or maybe this is a spokesperson deal. Probably not. Yeah, it would be too on the nose. But it doesn't have. It could be a guy that he met at a bar that's like buddies with a buddy, and he's like, "Hey man, I'll buy your beer. Venmo me $10." And he Venmoed him, and the guy just happened to look at his account, and he's like, "Holy crap!" Like, now why is he going back to 2022? That's where the weird part comes in, because you're digging at that point. But yeah, maybe an extremist fan. Maybe it's just a blind, dumb luck. Somebody stumbled on that, or maybe it's some, Barbara Walters and her prime level reporter. Yeah. But either way, I don't see where they can really punish him for this. And even still, it's a massive story that could be a lot more massive. But I think for Oklahoma's sake, it looks like it's somewhat controlled, although we know very well that there are plenty of fan bases out there, one in particular, that will not let this go probably, and will hope to find ways to make this last or make it a bigger deal than it already is.
That one transaction for a green dildo was not me. That must have been somebody else that put that in my
We know
Venmo
about your crypto
account.
scheme, so don't deny the green dildo.
So now some quarterback news on those who have been given the number one job as competition starting to wrap up, as we're just, a couple of weeks away from the first games. The one in Dublin, Ireland, of course, K-State, Iowa State is one that we have as well. Ty Simpson, this is not a surprise, but you never know, has been named Alabama starting quarterback. I saw what Ryan Grubb, their offensive coordinator, said one of the differences is that he takes care of the football, that he protects the football. He has spent 3 years backing up Bryce Young, Heisman Trophy winner, and a pretty good quarterback who, of course, is no longer in college football, in Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, both those guys are off to the NFL. Ty Simpson's waited his turn for a long time. I don't think he's going to be like back to the, Jacob Coker, Brody Croyle days of Alabama quarterbacks, but I don't think he's Bryce Young or Jalen Milroe. He'll be somewhere in between. He'll be all right. But he hasn't played all that much. And the only time we did see him play was in that abysmal game against USF where Nick Saban was trying to teach Jalen Milroe a lesson. So, I understand people being reticent on Ty Simpson because we have not seen him all that much. But if he can take care of the ball, if he can distribute to the many weapons they have, they'll be fine. Not every quarterback has to be a superstar like Bryce Young. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But that was pretty much I thought was going to happen.
Well, I know we got a story that I think talks about all the Alabama transfer quarterbacks.
Yeah,
so, before we get to that, I commend Ty Simpson for sticking around and just fighting it out and winning a battle rather than going and taking the easy money and the easy starting job somewhere else, which I'm sure could have at any point in time over the last year or two. So, good for him to sit where he was. And I don't blame guys that do that necessarily, because there are guys who in the older days had careers wasted because they could never win the starting job, right? And if they had the opportunity to go somewhere else, they could have been maybe great players. I think eventually the cream rises to the top, and if you're good enough, you're going to get your opportunity. But there are a lot of guys that, rather than sit for 2 years or whatever the case may be, say, yeah, I'll go start quarterback here. And so Ty Simpson said, I want to be the starting quarterback at Alabama. And who knows, if he wouldn't have won this time around, like he's probably entering the portal as well. But he stuck it out and won the job, and good for him. And I think this was the expected result all along, even though they've got some other good players. He's highly rated. He's a guy that has a lot of good tools. And I think that was kind of the expectation all offseason, was that he'd eventually be the guy that gets the job.
Boston College has named redshirt sophomore Dylan Lonergan as their starting quarterback. He'll debut for BC in the opener against the Rams of Fordham. Alabama transfer, that leads in a minute, not quite yet, to what Craig was talking about. And also Fresno State, E.J. Warner. His dad was pretty damn good. Kurt Warner, Super Bowl champion, broke some records. He's the starting quarterback for Fresno State. He'll start week 0 against KU and Lance Leipold and also the Jayhawks.
Yeah, both these are interesting. Dylan Lonergan goes up there and wins the job. And I'm not surprised because he was originally in Alabama, running that Bama system. Bill O'Brien was at Alabama for a little while, so there's some overlap there. And Lonergan goes up and picks it up pretty quick. He was a really high star recruit, and we'll see how he does at BC. I mean, that's they're not a powerhouse, but they've been. They were annoying last year in Bill O'Brien's first year. We'll see how many steps forward they take. And then E.J. Warner at Fresno State. Matt Entz is a really fun coach. I can't wait to see how they do. And that's not a gimme for Kansas week 1. It never is with a team for Fresno State, but they should win.
Yeah, it's not a gimme. I mean, E.J. Warner's a fine player. He's not a great player. I've followed him quite a bit, covering all the Texas schools for the Earl Campbell Award. And so I saw at least at bare minimum the box scores every week, but tried to watch a bit as well. And that team really, Dean Connors was a really good player for them. He's at Houston now. I think that was a good pickup for Willie Fritz and company to add some more production and depth to the backfield there. But he was the standout, really. And then the quarterback situation was just kind of off and on and all over the place. Had a really good final game against USF, but had a game right before that, a couple games right before that that weren't so good. And so, very hot and cold overall from what I've seen on him. But new digs, new opportunity. Let's see what he can do with it. And, big shot against Kansas right there out of the gates.
All right, and then this one. Alabama now has 3 former quarterbacks starting at Power 4 schools, and Sayans at Ohio State, Holstein at Pitt, and then Lonergan, as we just mentioned, BC. A&M, 5 former starting quarterbacks for Power 4 teams. Calzada at Kentucky, Haynes King at Georgia Tech, Henderson at West Virginia, Max Johnson at North Carolina, and Connor Wigman, who's at the University of Houston.
I'm going to throw a 6th in there that he forgot he left out because he's not playing quarterback. Eli Stowers. Maybe the best tight end in the country was an A&M quarterback as well.
Yeah.
So,
that's a bunch, and they're all playing elsewhere. And we got to know from Dave Bartu about transfer quarterbacks, about how many of them actually pay off with the next team that they go to. But there we are. That is 8 right there, not including who you mentioned was Stowers, from 2 schools, 2 SEC schools feeding the rest of Power 4s.
And here's another little overlap. Where was Eli Holstein committed to longer, Alabama or A&M?
I'm guessing A&M.
A&M. He was committed to them for a long time.
Yep.
And then Alabama came in and sniped him in the last few months. So there's a lot of overlap there. Julian Sand almost doesn't count.
He doesn't count. Well, he does because he was actually on campus, and then Saban retires and he leaves. But you're right. That's kind of a technicality right there.
I mean, Holstein's a really good player, and when he got hurt, Pitt, I mean, you saw how much that affected them. It was
they crashed and burned.
It was the difference in their entire season. So I'm excited to see what he can do. But with A&M, I mean, this goes back a while. I wonder if you go back to really the end of the Sumlin era with the handling of Kyle Allen and Kyler Murray, and what's the total of transfer quarterbacks since like that moment right there when those two left, and A&M went from
you mentioned Kenny Hill?
No, I didn't mention Kenny Hill. I'm saying that's the starting point, and I don't know what the number of quarterbacks is since then. But yeah, Kenny Hill would be another one, and that's what I'm saying is there's been a bunch. So I wonder what that number would be, if it would be too much bigger than this list plus those three. But that's just part of the deal now, and that's a time period that's very interesting to look back on because that was when A&M was at their absolute hottest they've ever been. No Texas in the SEC. Johnny football fever. Now Johnny's fighting like rappers on Twitter and, just whatever. Just nothing that you hoped he would be after all of that superstardom. And, Kenny Hill's a coach, I believe. Is he coaching? I think he is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, went to TCU. Yep.
But it's just interesting to look back at that. And that's so long ago now, boys. I don't know how old you all feel, but that's like 15 years ago at this point. Not quite. Is it 15? Almost.
Kenny Hill would have been about 11 years ago.
Okay, so we're getting close there. But I mean, there's been a number in those 15 years of transfer quarterbacks out of College Station for sure.
All right, so there we are. And you wonder, with that list, A&M only, taking who's on that list, those 5, would they be better off if they had just stuck with Haynes King when Fisher was there and he left because he was basically pushed out?
That's the only guy you'd say.
Yeah.
I mean,
all the other ones, you could nothing wrong with them because they all might be pretty good now. But yeah, if they would have just stayed with Haynes King, which I get it. He also, remember when we had him on a couple of months ago, he was ready to go. He was not beaten down. He was ready to go prove himself, but he has.
I think the jury's out on Connor Wigman, but I mean, they changed systems. And he didn't fit the new one. Yeah,
the jury's out, but with the jury being out, is like he's done nothing to make me think he should be the guy. So if he goes balls this year, I'd be like, add him to the list. But as far as who's actually done something, Haynes King would be the only one to go. He for sure could be a better quarterback maybe than what we have.
Zach Calzada had the fantastic moment of beating Alabama, being the quarterback there. But Jalen Henderson was just a backup, and he's not probably going to win the starting job, although reports are good about him picking up the offense there with West Virginia. Max Johnson is a backup. I mean, that's what he is. I mean, he's a backup.
Was he the one that was at Florida State? Was it?
No, his dad
where was he at? Oh, that's
he was
right.
at LSU.
That's right. Of course, his dad.
Yeah, Brad Johnson is his dad. Yeah.
All right, Dave Bartu on quarterback transfers. This leads right into this. If they didn't elevate their previous team, they ain't going to elevate yours. If they were average at the last stop, they'll be average at yours. We had him on, remember, just a couple of shows ago. If they elevated their last team, they will elevate yours. And trust transfer up more than transfer down.
Yeah, I mean, I could not agree with something more. When teams were looking at quarterbacks just last year, I remember thinking, like this Diego Pavia guy from New Mexico, someone that I would want to, like, he was at New Mexico. He's, they're having fun in that offense. They're balling it out. And, that's the guy I may want, if I'm trying to fill a gap for a year or so at quarterback while some younger guys develop, because he's just kind of a gamer, as opposed to a guy who was a 5-star quarterback and has never lived up to that. I think I'd rather have someone who was a 3-star quarterback or a JUCO transfer that nobody knew that's fought their way up all the way, as opposed to someone who is trying to recapture his high school glory that's never lived up to it by the time they're a junior or senior.
Yeah, I understand where he's coming from here. I tend to mostly agree. I don't necessarily, though, agree with the very start of this. The second sentence there, if they didn't elevate their previous team, they ain't going to elevate yours. I don't think that's necessarily true. What if you do transfer down and you were a guy who was at Alabama and now you're at Pitt and you're balling like Eli Holstein?
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess maybe the particulars are in the Eli Holstein didn't elevate Alabama. So
he didn't play.
Yeah. So I guess that's where he's coming from there.
Maybe he's clarifying that a little bit with that last sentence.
Okay.
And trust transfer up more than transfer down. No, he's actually kind of arguing with what you're saying there.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that Eli Holstein going from Alabama to Pitt is a step down. I think we'd all agree with that historically. If some Pitt fan wants to fight me on that, we can debate the merits of that argument, but and he's been great for them. So, yeah, I don't fully agree with that, and I do think you trust transfer up somewhat because, you got a guy who's clearly playing above his skis now, like a Cam Ward. Mm-hmm. But transfer down, I mean, you might just be a quarterback at Alabama who there's only one starting quarterback spot. So I don't know. I don't fully agree with that. I kind of see where he's coming from, but I think we're a little off each other's mark.
He probably needs some subsets in there, which, knowing Dave, he probably does.
Yeah.
You know,
We'll get him on. He enjoyed our last segment. He wants to come back
to clarify that. But it's like I do like transfer up, transfer down. If you didn't play at Alabama and you're going to sit behind Bryce Young and Jalen Milroe for a couple of years, that's not really transferring down or up. That's transferring where you're actually going to play.
Well, you know what?
I mean, it's transferring down, but he didn't get a chance to elevate Alabama.
How many Tyler Simpsons do we have? How many? Those stories need to be mentioned. I'm glad that we did with him.
Well, we just talked about Zach Calzada on this list. Zach Calzada went to Incarnate Word, balled out of control, and that's what got him the Kentucky job.
Yeah.
So we didn't trust him when he was going down. Yeah. That got him the opportunity to come back up. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little I'm sure if we talked particulars, it's not that big of a deal, honestly, but I don't fully agree.
You'll see what he does at Kentucky, but that's another good point. Now, in the last 10 preseason Heisman favorites, none of them have won the award. And this goes back, I think goes back further than that, but the last 10, well, maybe not, the last 10 for sure, this is from our friend Brett Ciancia, the last 10 have not won the Heisman, who were favored last year, Carson Beck, and so you go all the way down the list to a couple of times. All the Boykin in 15, remember, coming off that 14 team that was on the edge of the college football playoff with that bang game with Baylor, Mariota, and then even back in 2012, Manziel won it. He surely was not the favorite. 11 RG3 won it. He surely was not the favorite. I think Andrew Luck was. And so look at that stretch right now, and guess who the favorite is? Right now,
Jameis would have been the favorite in 13.
In 13?
He wouldn't have been.
Nope, he wouldn't have been. And so I guess, I don't know for sure because there's different odds, but maybe Arch Manning at the top of that list is the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy.
Oh, yeah, I think it's a him or a Jeremiah Smith are pretty much the safe bets that you could make, or the logical bets that you could make at this point. I think it's an interesting stat, certainly, and I also find it interesting that if you actually look at the runners up, like some years they don't even have this favorite in the top 3 of the voting. And I could probably see some years where they don't have them 4th or 5th, but I haven't found a list that's comprehensive enough and labeled the way I need it to be to actually look through that. But for top 3, I mean, last year, Carson Beck did not finish in the top 3, and I doubt he finished in the top 5. In 23, Caleb Williams did not finish in the top 3. In 22, C.J. Stroud did finish. He finished 3rd. He finished 3rd behind Caleb Williams and Max Duggan. 21, Rattler wasn't even top 3. 20, Fields wasn't top 3. 2019, Tua wasn't top 3. 2018, Tua was number 2, which led to him the next year being a heavy favorite for it. But he was number 2 behind Kyler Murray. So that's one year where it did occur. 2017, Sam Darnold wasn't top 3. 2016, Deshaun Watson finished 2nd behind Lamar Jackson. So we could keep going, but yes, favorites sometimes don't even finish in the top 3, 4, or 5 is what I'm saying there.
Yeah,
so.
and of course, Caleb winning in 22, then the favorite coming back, that doesn't always work out because it never works out because Archie Griffin, right, is the only one that's ever won back-to-back Heisman trophies. So we mentioned yesterday the week 1 bangers, top 10 ranked teams playing each other. There are 3 of them. Woody versus the world, just put this out just to look down the road right now. And again, all this can change and it will because the rankings will change. But right now, as the top 25 is set, there are 7 preseason ranked matchups head-to-head right now on the schedule for week number 10. This could be completely like one of my chemistry tests in school, completely just obliterated with red ink, but just a thought about where we are. And it's nice to look at games, even though a lot of those, pretty much every one of those numbers is going to change.
Yeah, they're all going to change, but it's going to be a cool week. I mean, look, the Big 12 with Tech and Kansas State, Arizona State, and Iowa State that week should be a fantastic week. That's a great week in the SEC. If Tennessee turns out to be good and Oklahoma both turn out to be good, I mean, look, the cocktail party is always a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And then Penn State and Ohio State is always a good one.
And that could remain the same. They could be 2-3 by the. It could be 1-2 by the time we get to week number 10.
If you're picking a game where neither team will be ranked by the time it happens, which one are you picking? I think I'm going Oklahoma, Tennessee.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I would too.
I would too.
I think I'm going Oklahoma, Tennessee, and I'm going to choose to believe that Woody versus the world did this out of fun and not for content, because I want to believe that he's just a sicko or she's a sicko that was just like, I'm going to go through the entire schedule now that we have the top 25 and just stumble upon something.
I think he did. She did.
And got all the way to week 10 and was like, oh, my God, look what I found.
They probably got to week 7 and got pissed because they couldn't find one, and then they kept going. Now, our good friend Brett Ciancia from Pick 6 Previews, after the poll was released yesterday, and he's going to be not every week with us, but he's going to be on with us a handful of times during the season. I love listening to his knowledge. But here are the teams he says are too high based on the AP poll: Illinois, South Carolina, SMU. And the ones that he says are too low, a bigger chunk of Alabama, Texas Tech, Utah, USC, Baylor, TCU, and Auburn. And, of course, those last two teams, or two of the last three teams, play each other in week number 1.
I do think that the South Carolina one's puzzling to me because I do like Lenore Sellers a lot, and I think they've got some great momentum and excitement around that program. But he's not saying they shouldn't be ranked. He's just saying they're a little bit too high. I could see that. I think that could be a fair statement to make. And same thing with Illinois or SMU. I mean, SMU, Kevin Jennings is back, but they lost some really good players off that team last year. So a little bit too high. Yeah, I could see it with those three, because a lot of this is, of course, what they've done in the offseason, but it's also coasting off of last year in some ways as well, which is what you see with early season stuff. Is a lot of it's like, well, where did they finish a year ago? A lot of that's coming back. Bam, they're in the top 25 automatically. But I think those three teams are going to be good. So I don't know how highly overrated they are in his estimation. And then as far as the too low, I mean, Alabama's a top 7 team, not a top 8 team. I wonder how high they should be in his estimation. But it's not too disrespectful since they are number 8. Tech is interesting because I said yesterday that I was wondering about the polls and how much people would like overreact or just react to their offseason. And so I found it kind of smart on the voters' part to not go too crazy and put them like in the top 15 just based off of their recruiting. Although you can make a case that you could do that because talent for talent, they're probably closer to that they are to more of the teams outside the top 25. So they're an interesting one where I think that they could in fact be too low if they're what they're believing they're cracked up to be. And then the rest of that looks pretty good if you're a Big 12 fan, because there's 4 teams right there that he feels like are not getting enough respect. I think Baylor got a little nick in their armor with the Pendergrass news. I don't think that vastly changes their season necessarily, but a lot of people are high on them. And, it should be a good year in the league. And Baylor Auburn right out of the gates will have 2 of these 2 low teams, so somebody's going to get a big win in his opinion and everybody's opinion, since that's one of the games that's been most talked about already.
Yeah, exactly right. No question. And so I that doesn't mean like too high doesn't mean, like you said, they should not be ranked. I don't see anybody. South Carolina's 13th. Illinois is where? They're 12. SMU, I think, is 16. And that's it. So that doesn't mean that maybe they should be down 2, 3, 5 notches or whatever. South Carolina is intriguing because of the run they made at the end of last year. And Sellers is such a stud. All right, last thing. Brett McMurphy joined us yesterday. He teased the story, the top 25 most overrated and underrated teams based on the AP poll since the playoff era began in 2014. Now, we don't have the graphic up. Number 1 is USC. Number 2 is Auburn. I'm not going through the entire list, but A&M, he mentioned A&M at 3. LSU at 4. That surprised me. And Wisconsin at number 5. OU 8, Florida State 6, Nebraska 20, and Texas 21.
Yeah, I thought about FSU when I saw it, and I thought there's only one year where they've been properly rated in the playoff era, whether it's too high or like in 23, I guess it would have been too low, right, because of where they finished. but the only year that they've been properly rated is 2014 when they didn't lose until the Rose Bowl.
Right.
So like that was
that Oregon?
Yeah, that was Oregon.
Yeah.
So they lost that game in the Rose Bowl. But since 2015, nobody's gotten right what the hell they're going to be. Nobody ever gets right what the hell A&M's going to be. USC, I mean, I'm not surprised they're number one because they got the benefit of the doubt way too many times over the years, in spite of coming off bad years. And then people would be like, well, this is
the logo.
Yeah, it's the logo.
It's a history. It's a blue blood.
And then Auburn, everybody thinks that like this next coach is going to be the guy who figures it out. But the thing is that in the playoff era, they've been stuck in a state that had the GOAT in it. And that was always probably going to hurt them more than everybody else.
So I don't have on three. Do you have the top five, did you say?
For the most overrated?
Yes.
USC, Auburn, A&M, LSU, and Wisconsin.
Okay. Yeah, I saw a list that J.J. Fuller, BYU fan, did a couple days ago, and I think his might be a little bit different based on what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, well, he put a deeper, more analytical look at it because it's a
Southern Cal's number one still.
Yeah.
Southern Cal. I think A&M would have been the team I probably guessed, honestly, about who's been more overrated just because we're closer, but they know that as well as anybody. I mean, Aggies fans know that, so I think that they'll take that in stride. USC, I don't know what their fan base thinks at this point. I don't feel like I've ever heard a USC fan talk hardly. Like, you know what I mean? We're not based in California, so I hear Aggies all the time. I don't know how Trojans feel, and then you talk to people about the fandom, and it's like it's kind of hit or miss, especially in comparison to an A&M fan base, right? So I don't know how they feel at this point, but I would be interested to know.
About them. They're better when no one talks about them.
Baylor had a couple of staffers, Rachel Caton being one of them, that was a USC grad. And, you know, I would just ask her because, again, she was in the athletic department. She knew it. And there, I think, if I could just use her opinion as someone who I respected because she knew, like, how things work, I think her opinion was they were just like, you know, like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
you know?
You should be better than you are, but does anybody care enough? Or like, I don't know.
Which guy with artificial knees are we going to hire because he stood next to the Heisman Trophy to be the AD, whether he's good enough at this or not?
Yeah, they had a mess when it came to the administration, the spine. Also, someone put this, you have Georgia 14, Alabama 15, and I thought about this too. How can they be overrated with all they've accomplished, a combined 5 national titles? And Alabama, other than really last year, and even last year they were knocking on the door, they've been like unbelievable. But maybe it's some sort of formula that Brett used. Ohio State,
maybe it's
by
when
the
they're
way,
not as good as they're cracked up to be. They still stay highly ranked because of all the times they were what they were cracked up to be. And that's the whole vortex of, I don't know if that's the right word or not to really use here, but that's the vortex of the polls is like, you don't really get extremely punished. So, yeah, you can somehow be overrated and underrated simultaneously if you're in Alabama because you just stick around the polls no matter what. But I do think BYU being underrated is definitely notable. And that's a great thing for Kalani Sitake to be able to point to. And also, I think for their fans to see that is great for them to see that they're getting some respect now and they're in a place where they're not going to be as underrated as they have been because they're on a little bit bigger of a stage and they've got more opportunity at their disposal. So, yeah, I think that bodes well for them.
You wonder where they would have been another notch or two up if Retzlaff had not been dismissed or basically forced to leave. When we come back, we have a lot of different guests to get to, including Dave Softy Mahler, so put your ear pods in or your ear muffs on. Shahan Jayaraja, former KU running back Brandon McAnderson, Brandon Marcello, CBS Sports at just after 5, and more, John McClain, etc. This is 365 Sports.
That's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf car batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a T-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Right now at Berg Collision Ford, we're bringing you an offer that's as big as America. Employee pricing for everyone. You pay what they pay. That means you drive home a new Ford F-150, Bronco Sport, Expedition, Super Duty. From America, for America. Employee pricing for everyone at BK Ford. Looking to sell your vehicle? Get top dollar for yours today. Don't miss out. Employee pricing is available for a limited time. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Experience better at BK Ford.
I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. This is how I wanna live. I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Ooh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
365 Sports on this Tuesday afternoon. Hope you're having a great day. Lots of topics today, and we appreciate your time. If you have not subscribed to our channel, we would appreciate you do that. And Kyle, as he mentioned inside the chat room, hey, Smokey, there's a lot of newbies, a lot of rookies when it comes to the chat, or those who have not been as involved as before. We welcome you. We appreciate you, and thank you very much for your time. Because be careful when you walk into that chat room. You may not come back out alive. Craig doesn't get in it. He's smart. Paul doesn't get in it much anymore at all. Scars all over you, right?
It's just a distraction to me.
And I get in it because I can't help myself. But we appreciate those of you who are part of it today, and thank you very much for being a part of what we do. That's just another way to communicate and stay in touch with what we're doing. So, yesterday I brought up that UT story that they'd never been ranked number one. And then Suzanne Halliburton used to write for the Austin American-Statesman. She goes, "It's a great question. Some enterprising Longhorn reporter should write why 63, 69, 70, and 05 teams weren't ranked number one in the preseason. We know why in 5, because USC was trying to win 3 in a row and had almost all of their players back for that year. Texas beat them with Vince Young. Texas did number 2 that year. But the preseason poll's been going on since 1950. And so she was asking one of the UT journalism students to maybe get involved in that. Craig had me to do a project as well. We're working on this. You asked me about what?
We got to talking about, for some reason, fan storming yesterday, and I thought it would be interesting perhaps to take a look at just starting off with the Big 12 would be an easy place to start of when teams last rushed the field. I think I had even more of a reason for why them specifically, but I can't recall it right at this very moment, but it was actually pretty easy. You just Google West Virginia rushed the field, and it comes up mostly, and so TCU did it in 22 when they beat Baylor, and they went to the national championship in the playoff and all of that.
This is 1990 on the screen, by the way, when Texas beat Houston at DKR Royal Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, so that's why we were talking about it. Was I guess Houston being involved there. So I would not have thought that Texas had ever rushed the field. Just seems to be above it, but they in fact have. So interesting to see that, and that's I'm sure somebody's claiming that's AI or something. That's like too
no.
proud of a fan. They're like, no, that's
Well,
Chat GPT.
I'm surprised that they ever did, because I know that they don't even rush the field and have a dog pile if they win a regional title to get to a College World Series. But
so that was Houston rushing the field.
No, that was Texas.
Okay. Well, I doubted myself when I saw the players looking like they were upset for a second. I was like, am I seeing this wrong?
Houston had beaten them 47-9, 66-15, and 60-40 back when they ran that run and shoot, and Texas finally got them in 1990.
So the real reason Texas left for the SEC is what I'm
they were
what that is.
Houston entered, Texas left. We're now joined by our great friend Softy Mahler from KJR in Seattle. Softy, did you push John Mateer into gambling?
I did. He was a innocent soul until he met me, and I have turned him into an absolute degenerate sports gambling loser of a football player. Preseason football, preseason NBA basketball games, baseball parlays, how long this interview will be with you. Anything you can gamble on, I've got him gambling on. And by the way, how full of crap is John Mateer? Are you kidding me? He's got 2 transactions on his Venmo account, which he identified as sports gambling. So either A, he's hiding something else and calling it sports gambling, or B, he's too big of a meathead to not call sports gambling something else. I mean, dude, you didn't gamble on sports. You went out and got a golf lesson, or you went out and got your buddy a pizza, or you went out and had to, get a car wash or whatever. Like, Johnny, wake up, man. I mean, what the hell is wrong with you? You're the starting quarterback for the Oklahoma Sooners, and you're literally allowing people to see your public transactions on Venmo and referring to them as sports gambling. What the hell you think is going to happen, man? Holy cow. So let's just hope Johnny Mateer is a better football player for Oklahoma than his brain showed on Venmo, because I was colossally stupid to do something like that. Dumb as hell. And he can play, too, by the way. He tore the Huskies up last year in the Apple Cup big time. This guy is a major, major talent.
Softy, I would think right now where the rubber hits the road is, can anybody prove that he actually gambled? Because it's not like maybe he didn't use an app like FanDuel or something like that, but it was just like him sending money. Like, all they can prove is he sent money to that guy, Richard. And so,
well, and he would obviously need someone to say to the contrary on the other end, that yes, I received money, or yes, he did this, or yes, he asked to influence the game in XYZ kind of way. But either way, man, you just don't need that kind of smoke, no pun intended, David. You don't need that kind of attention on you, right? You don't need that kind of, publicity in a negative way. So, I mean, I'm sure he'll be able to find a way to get through it when it's all said and done. But just kids out there, if you've got something on Venmo that you don't want people to see, either A, shut off your public transactions, or B, call it something else.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Softy, what's kind of the mood, the atmosphere, the anticipation level up in the Northwest, particularly for teams like the Huskies as this season starts to get underway here?
Yeah, look, man, most of what we're doing right now on the air, at least on our radio station, is all about the baseball team. I mean, they're leading the wild card race right now. They've never made the World Series ever. As you guys know, they got a hell of a team. They went out and made a bunch of transactions at the deadline, got Suarez, got Naylor, got Ferguson, got a lot better. Cal Raleigh's chasing, Aaron Judge's American League home run record. Julio's starting to heat up a little bit. So people are talking baseball. I would say about 85%, 80% of what we're doing on the air right now is devoted to Mariner baseball. Because training camp for the Seahawks has actually been kind of boring. There really hasn't been a lot of controversy right now. That's where I'm at right now. I'm literally inside the Seahawks media room as we speak, and thank God, because it's 95 flipping degrees outside, and I'm cool in here talking to you guys. But there's no quarterback controversy. There's no player holding out like you've got for other teams around the NFL. So it's been kind of a boring training camp for not just the Seahawks but also the Huskies as well. We need some controversy. We need a quarterback to get caught betting on sports is what we need.
I knew you'd have. Yeah. I knew you would love that story.
Softy, what do you think about Damon Williams and the future? The future is now, but this season and what Jed Fisch can do with him.
Yeah, I put $500 on him. Speaking of gambling, and I'll admit that I did it. By the way, I'm not going to hide from that fact. $500 on Damon Williams to win the Heisman Trophy pays $50,000. Okay, so here's the thing: do I think Damon Williams is going to win the Heisman Trophy? No. Do I think that Jed Fisch is going to try and get Damon Williams to win the Heisman Trophy? Abso-freaking-lutely. Guys, this is a dude who last year, I think it was the Weber State game in September, put Jonah Coleman back in the game during a blowout just so he could get 100 yards. This guy is very aware of numbers, and he's very aware of publicity. Nobody in college football loves the spotlight on his team more than Jed Fisch does. So those first 3 games of the year, Colorado State, UC Davis, Wazoo, and the Apple Cup, you bet your ass that they're going to get Damon Williams' numbers pumped up. And I guarantee you by the end of September, you're going to be hearing a lot of people across the country talk about Damon Williams as a dark horse for the Heisman Trophy. The guy can do it all, man. He can run, he can throw. He's got a hell of an arm. You saw that in the Sun Bowl against Louisville a year ago. He's fast as hell. He's electric. This guy is absolutely unlike any other quarterback that Washington has ever had. So I'm really pumped up for number 2. The only question is, does he have an offensive line? The offensive line last year was freaking terrible. I mean, it stunk, but we all knew that because everybody took off when Kalen DeBoer went to Alabama. So it was no surprise whatsoever that they had a problem last year with their offensive line, but they've gone out, they've made some improvements, they brought some players in, they brought some players back, including De'Aaron Hatchett, who took off to go to play for Oklahoma and now is back in Seattle. Carver Willis, who's the transfer from Kansas State, is your new starting left tackle. There was a point in time a year ago, guys, for Washington where they were literally flipping offensive linemen during a series, not during a game, during a series. They had one guy playing right tackle on first down and the same guy was playing left tackle on second down. It was unreal. I've never seen a football team do that in my life. So that's what a joke the Husky offensive line was a year ago. So if they can just get back to normal and mediocrity and protect this kid, you're going to hear a lot about number 2, man. So get ready.
Well, my question was going to be, why in year 2 would Jed Fisch in Washington be better? Well, you've already given us quite a bit on that. And what were your thoughts about the first year? Not that Washington has not played Big Ten teams in the Rose Bowl or elsewhere. What was your first year about the combination with everybody being involved and included?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all. I thought they'd have a tough year. I mean, Dave, they lost their entire offensive line. They lost almost every starter from that team that played Michigan for the national championship. They lost like 20 guys in the transfer portal. So if anybody thought that Washington was going to be just as good the next year, or even close to as good as they were in 2023 when they had Michael Penix and those guys, they just weren't paying attention. I mean, they lost everything, man, everything. And the way college football works, you guys know this as well as me. When you lose a coach and that coach goes to coach for somebody else, the only players that you have access to rebuild your roster are the players that are on the team that coach went to because their coach took off, if that makes any sense. So UW is losing all these players to all these schools around the country. And the only way they can restock is with kids from Arizona or kids from another school where a coach had left. And by the time Kalen DeBoer took off because UW played in the title game, most of those jobs were already filled. There was nothing out there. Same thing happened to Michigan, man. They didn't lose as many guys as UW, but there was no way for them to restock their roster in time for the 2024 season. So I'm not surprised at all what happened. Look, if UW wants to, have success in the Big Ten, they're going to have to get better on the line of scrimmage. They got their ass kicked on the offensive and defensive lines last year when they played teams like Penn State, Iowa, Indiana. It was the exact opposite of where they were in 2023 when they had the best offensive line in college football. They went from having the best offensive line in college football to one of the worst offensive lines in college football, all because their coach left to Alabama. End of story.
Year 2, Ohio State, Michigan on the schedule, a familiar face in Oregon, just some of the highlights of it. But year 2 in the Big Ten, does it feel natural and kind of normal now? How does it feel? And is it cool, in your opinion, to be in the Big Ten versus the old ways?
I mean, it's getting, I don't know if I'd say it's cool. The travel is kind of a pain in the ass. I mean, UW's got to go to Maryland to play the Terrapins in Maryland, which is a 3,000-mile trip. Rutgers is coming here to play UW on a Friday night, 3,000 miles away from Jersey. We're going to Wisconsin. We're going to Michigan. Ohio State, Illinois, Oregon, they're all coming here. They got UCLA at the Rose Bowl on a Friday night. So it's funny that you talked about, is it kind of still unique? There's parts of it that are unique, especially when you go to places for the very first time. Like last year, we went to Iowa, had never been to Iowa, went to Penn State, had never been to Penn State. We're going to Wisconsin this year. I've never been to Wisconsin. And a lot of Big Ten fans had never been to UW, but then you also sprinkle in some of the old familiar names, like we still have the Apple Cup against Washington State. We still have the Oregon game. We're going to the UCLA to play in the Rose Bowl on a Friday night. So there's a lot of new mixed in with a little bit of old, and I think that's great. It still feels like a bit of a novelty. I still find myself, by the way, every now and then when I want to see UW is up to, going to the Pac-12 standings to click on UW on the Pac-12 page and have to kind of stop myself and go to the Big Ten page. So it's still a little weird. But it's, I think, still the right move for UW. No question about it.
How much will Ryan Grubb in year 2, now that he's back attached with Kalen DeBoer, help the Alabama football team on offense?
I think he's going to be phenomenal. I know they just named Ty Simpson their starting quarterback, but look out for Austin Mack, man, the kid that's sitting behind Simpson at quarterback. Austin Mack, I think, is a player, and he's just still a little bit too raw, a little bit too young. Simpson's been around that program for a long time. But I think Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer were meant to coach together, right? I mean, all of Kalen DeBoer's success, for the most part, came with Ryan Grubb at his side, and all of Ryan Grubb's success came with Kalen DeBoer at his side. So sometimes two people are just meant to be together and meant to work together. I think you'll see a much better version of Alabama football than you did a year ago because Ryan Grubb is back with Kalen DeBoer. And it's not just him. They got one of the best receiver coaches in America. In Jamarcus Shepard. They got a good defensive staff. A lot of guys were brought over from Washington, obviously. So I think Kalen's going to do fine. The expectations are nuts there. There's no doubt. Obviously, the allure and the draw of Alabama and the allure and draw of Saban doesn't mean as much in the NIL era. So I don't blame him for getting out. Don't blame Peterson for getting out. And I don't blame Tony Bennett in basketball for getting out. A lot of big names just said, I'm not built for this, man. I'm not made for this kind of business anymore. I want to be able to relate to kids and, have my history and my credibility and my name be the reason why they come play football somewhere. And now it's for the most part all about the money, dude. So I think Kalen's going to do fine. But I think he had, I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, the most impossible job in the history of college football in year 1 at Alabama, replacing Nick frickin' Saban in the NIL era when the rules are changing on the fly with the expectations that Alabama fans have for that program. I don't know if there was a tougher job in the history of college football in year 1 for Kalen DeBoer than he had last year.
Yeah, who did Caesars park in Elvis's theater after he died, right? Like, what do you do? Like, it's crazy. Softy, I'm curious on your thoughts on Oregon. And this is maybe the most new players they would have had, or less veteran players under Dan Lanning.
Right. Well, look, here's the thing. A lot of people are going to accuse me of anti-Oregon bias, which is probably fair, to be honest with you, given my history. I mean, I can't stand those bastards, right? I don't know who you guys think of as your biggest rivalry in college football, but I just, I think about the Oregon Ducks and I want to vomit, all right? And I don't know how else to say that, to be totally honest with you. But they don't really develop anybody, right? I mean, they've got a lot of guys in the NFL, but most of them are transfers. The quarterbacks are transfers. Look at the last 3 or 4 starting quarterbacks that Oregon has had. How many of them were guys that showed up as freshmen, stayed in that system, put in their 2 or 3 years, and then became starting quarterbacks as redshirt sophomores or juniors. And there's not many of them, right? I mean, all the guys they've had, from the Dylan Gabriels, obviously, going back to Dakota Prucup to Vernon Adams back in the day, and now Dante Moore, the amount of transfer quarterbacks they have is insane, but it usually works, right? Like that philosophy and that approach has worked for Oregon. But, last year was their year, man, and they got screwed. I'll admit it. They got screwed by the draw. They never should have played Ohio State in the second round. I loved it. It was a phenomenal day for Husky fans to watch Oregon get their ass kicked by Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. But 14 guys back off of a 13-1 team. All of it is about Dante Moore, right? Like, I was never super impressed with him at UCLA. So Dylan Gabriel was actually a guy that got a Heisman vote from me a year ago. That's how highly I thought of him last season. And I don't know if they've got the same kind of captain of the ship in Dante Moore. We're going to find out, though, pretty early in the season what this guy can do. They got a game at Penn State at the end of September. They got Indiana going there to Eugene, Wisconsin at Iowa. A UW game is the last game of the regular season in Seattle, so it's going to be fun. But I think Oregon takes a bit of a step back this year, to be honest with you.
Softy, we love it. The energy, the passion, the truth serum, and more. We appreciate it, man. It's so good that we got to know each other back leading up to the 2011 Alamo Bowl between Washington and Baylor in that defensive struggle down in San Antonio.
Yeah, I curse that day every day of my life, not because of the lack of defense, but it's the day that I had you come into my life, and I regret it.
Hang up on him. Get out of here.
No,
yeah.
Sark lashed out.
I was going to ask him, but we're up against another guest because we have Shahan, and then also then Brandon McAnderson is going to join us too. But yeah, Sark was the head coach for Washington, and I was going to ask him about what he's seen him do since that time and where he has Texas. We'll get him on again at some point here down the road. When we come back, Shahan Jayaraja, CBS Sports, Brandon McAnderson, former KU running back and part of Jayhawk KU Jayhawks Radio and more. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Alumni Department with Doug Fisch and Paul Thorpe, connecting you to Baylor. If you're a Baylor fan, every university, every college, every program, every athletic department has an alumni group, and your favorite school has one of theirs as well. Help you as a fan or a friend, whether you're living in the Waco area or on the West Coast. You can find community through Baylor alumni tailgates at Baylor games, regional events like Baylor at the ballpark in Arlington or across the world, and you can be proud of your green and also gold. Building friendships rooted in tradition, faith, and shared love for the good of the old Baylor line. Doug Fisch and Paul Thorpe can help you set up. Contact them. For example, Baylor's playing on the road against SMU in week number 2. They will have plenty going on outside of the stadium before that game, leading up to that game just, 60, 80 miles up the road. Baylor alumni with Doug Fisch and Paul Thorpe.
2500 crew cab, starting at just $43,990. Don't miss the savings during the Make This the Summer event. Alan Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Shahan Jararaja, CBS Sports, joins us on 365 Sports. Always great to have him. Tuesdays, most every Tuesday at 4. You've had a little fun today on Twitter, haven't you, with this John Mateer story?
Well, it's kind of right in my wheelhouse, right? It's local DFW kid for me. It's obviously what's happening up in Oklahoma. But the other thing too, just with all of this, is that I think that this is one of those stories that blows up that also just isn't that big a deal, right? Like I think that ultimately, I mean, we've talked to people over at, U.S. Integrity. There's not reason to believe that he's been super involved with gambling or that there's anything really implicating him. So this is one of those things that I think makes a kid sweat, but probably won't end up being that big a deal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they can prove, right? I mean, other than, what's going on. But it is stress that Oklahoma doesn't need right now as they're trying to rebound the entire program. And in August, Craig brought it up. He gave him Rhett Bomar PTSD.
No, 100%. And like, it's such an important year for this program, right? And I will say too, like, John Mateer's never been in remotely any kind of trouble, right? Like, he's never like done anything wrong. And one thing that I was talking about with a colleague is just, I want people to remember, he grew up in Little Elm outside of Frisco, didn't play at a good high school program, went to Washington State. That was his only FBS offer, and didn't start until they obviously weren't a power conference team anymore. So like, when you say that he's never had this kind of spotlight on him, this is truly the first time he's ever had that kind of spotlight on him. And when you see him, quickly react and make sure to lock his Venmo payments and all this sort of stuff, right? Like, this is somebody who hasn't been in this situation before. But, ultimately, I think that Oklahoma probably is not going to pursue anything. I don't think the NCAA is going to think that there's enough evidence to open up a case. But like you said, I mean, it's hard not to think about some of these situations like that with Rhett Bomar, where it kind of derails a season and a couple of seasons. This is a time at Oklahoma where they can't afford to derail a season.
Shahan, even if you're up to nothing nefarious or nobody else is, like, just the thought of like, oh, wait, my Venmo payments are public. Did you have one of those reactions, like probably thousands of others, of like, wait a second, I better go check my privacy settings?
Well, yeah, because I think that mine are probably still public. I did go through and check to make sure, because like, look, for people who don't use Venmo, like, it is very common, especially like when you're in high school or whatever, to put silly captions and stuff. There were some going around with other major college football players that have like, little like sexual innuendos or things, like sending money back and forth to their teammates. And so like, this isn't uncommon, right? But it is so funny, the idea that Venmo has a public newsfeed and public payments. I remember there was a bit with John Mulaney where he was like, to us, to me, who's a drug addict, like, that's what this app is for. I don't know what all the rest of you guys are doing on my drug addict app. And, I think that it's one of those funny times where you just kind of look around and you're like, it is kind of weird that I can see all these payments going through. Yeah,
I feel the panic across the country as that people were realizing, wait a second, what do you mean you can see Venmo payments? But the top 25 poll came out for the preseason, Texas #1, and man, I think what struck me was, while they lost so much and yet they're still #1, which is a compliment to Sark, but also kind of a statement on the uncertainty of it all, right? This year, I mean, is that kind of what you sensed as well, of just like, this is anybody's ball game? And I know we kind of say that every year, but this year it really feels like it's true as much as it has been any other year past.
Well, and I put together a piece over at cbssports.com that kind of got into this, because not only, obviously, Texas #1, but this was the closest vote for number one since 1998, and the closest first place vote since 2008. They were separated by 2 votes. Back in 2008, it was 1 vote. So like, this is kind of unprecedented, especially for this era. We've had this moment of consolidation. And I mean, you look back at really the last 15 years or so, I mean, every single year it feels like there was a team that clearly established themselves, whether it was the reigning national champion, whether it was, frankly, just Nick Saban's Alabama kind of being listed at the top with a lot of the first place votes. And so I do think it's a new era. If you look at things like FanDuel national title odds, this is kind of how it is, right? Like there's a lot of teams that are between plus 600 and plus 700, at least 4 teams in that range. And if you extend it out to plus 1500, which is still pretty good odds, there are 9 teams in that range. So this is, I think, as open a year as we've had in a while in college football. And even, by the way, when you look at those teams that are at the top, like Texas, well, Texas is replacing their 2 best offensive linemen. They're replacing their quarterback. They're replacing their receivers. They're replacing a couple guys on the D line. Like, this is not a ready-made national title clear favorite heading into 2025. And if you look down the list at the other 8 teams that I mentioned are in that top group of contenders, every single one of them has some very legitimate questions.
Yeah, I think this is the hardest thing to do now, is to project out, because you're not just reloading. You are rebuilding, even if you're a really good team right now, and you don't know how it's going to gel together. You know, Texas's key under Sark was they had all these guys. They didn't really lose anybody. They retained and they added, and so they just kind of added ingredients to building to what they were. Now maybe that's the same case here with some guys that have come up through the system, but I think you have to let it play out way more now than even in the past, where you could look at a team and be like, look, they're looking at their schedule, looking at what they have, everybody's back. Like, unless something tragic happens, this team's only going to lose 2 games at worst. But now, like, God in heaven, who knows?
No, and the super conferences piece, I think, are a big part of this as well, right? Because now in the SEC or the Big Ten, like, you're probably not going 11-1 without breaking a sweat. Now, you know, maybe we'll see a team like Clemson get a chance to do that in the ACC, but like in the Big 12, you certainly don't get the opportunity to do that, no matter how your schedule falls. And so I think that it makes the sport implicitly in some ways more competitive. I think also, you know, we've talked at length over the offseason about these dynamics of things like the transfer portal and NIL kind of taking the bottom out of some of these really, really elite teams that have stacked talent year over year. And all of a sudden it's like, well, are you going to be the 73rd man at Georgia, or are you going to be the 4th man at Iowa State? Like, that's a real question that I think that players are having to ask themselves, that's impacting the depth at some of these super elite programs. And so again, I think that it does make the sport more competitive. I mean, even if you want to look at the last couple of years, like last year, Ohio State lost 2 games and won the national championship. The year before that, Michigan was an elite team that didn't lose a game, but like, they weren't the same type of elite offensive talent level of a 2019 LSU or a 2020 Alabama. And so again, I think that the sport has flattened itself out in some ways, and we'll see if it's a long-term trend, but I think that at least for the next year or two, like, this is what it's going to be like.
Shahan, when the top 25 came out, I thought there would be somebody within the Big 12 at 11 to 13, 14, something like that. Then maybe 2 or 3 stuffed between 20 and 25. That's pretty much the case. And then there would be a handful right outside of that. And that's exactly what happened. What does that say about what the voters still think of the Big 12?
Well, I think the biggest thing that they think about the Big 12 is that they don't have any elite teams. And, you know, I think that there's a legitimate question to be asked about that. I have said all offseason, I do feel like the last 2 years were a little bit unrepresentative of how competitive some of these teams can be at the highest level. I mean, again, you look the last 2 years, there only would have been one team that would have made a 12-team playoff, whether it was, the 4 team or the 12 team in that respective year. Well, like, that hasn't been the case even when you don't include Texas and Oklahoma over the past decade before that. There have been multiple teams that have gotten into the top 10 conversation, and I expect multiple teams to get into the top 10 conversation in 2025. Now, Arizona State is kind of that rising star in some ways, but many of the other programs that sort of implicitly have credibility haven't necessarily been on that stage. Kansas State is probably the closest thing that the Big 12 has right now, and they're in the top 20. I think if BYU had brought back Jake Retzlaff, they would have been much closer to the top 15. And by the way, like the Big 12 only had 4 teams ranked in the top 25. They also had the first 3 teams out in BYU, Utah, and Baylor. So 4 teams in the top 25, but 7 teams in the top 28. So like, I think there's a lot of teams that are right on the cusp, but this is why Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, talks about needing brands to establish themselves. They don't want to just be a parity conference forever, because when there is only parity, it's much harder to create greatness.
How important do you think for eyeballs, and it worth the risk of moving one of the best rivalries, although not protected in the scheduling and Farmageddon, to Ireland, is next week's game in Ireland for the Big 12, to have a good game between 2 good teams that are really evenly matched and should be in this race for the entire year?
Well, it's an interesting question, right? Because one, I know that a lot of people did not like that the Big 12 moved some of the rivalry games off of rivalry weekend. They want to kind of be on that stage. I actually think that it's a good thing for the Big 12 to really spread around their rivalries, because one, I think that you think of one like Arizona State, a great one, the Territorial Cup, that I think a lot of people would fall in love with. Well, like, I don't think that you're in that situation when you're lost on the same day as the Iron Bowl in the game, right? So I do like that piece of it. And I think that it's actually really cool that Iowa State and Kansas State are kicking off the season, because these are 2 teams that, one, should expect to contend for the Big 12, and 2, could very much end up in the college football playoff race. And you get them alone on national television in a game that everybody in the country is going to watch. I think some people are going to be surprised with what they see, with the quality of some of the players, with a quarterback like Avery Johnson, with what Iowa State does defensively. And so I think that this is a really good showcase for this conference and this program. I mean, you look at a lot of the, let's say the ACC versions of this games that have been there in previous years, they haven't been meaningful games. They haven't been good games, right? I mean, yeah, it's great that we got to see Georgia Tech versus a bad Florida State, right? But like, it wasn't a game that actually had much meaning. Northwestern against Nebraska a couple years ago, it was 2 bottom feeder teams. These are 2 teams that are at the top of their games, 2 coaches that are at the top of the country. And I think it's going to be a great showcase for the conference.
When the season begins, which is just around the corner with that game, you attend games, cover games. How do you keep up with everything going on throughout the weekend? Is it just you eventually soak everything in, grab this, grab that, print this? How do you do that, Shahan, during the Saturday game days?
Yeah, it's a lot. I'll tell you that much. I think that there's a couple pieces of this. One, like, it's a process of elimination. So let's say in week 1, right, you have the P5 versus P5 games. You have the good G5 games with conference title contenders. You have the top 25 teams. And so you just pay attention to sort of the top group of those. As the season goes along, you really focus on 2 things: the AP top 25, just to, maybe top 30 as well, right? And conference championship contenders, no matter what conference they're in, right? Because they're going to be teams that ultimately shape the college football playoff picture. So maybe at the beginning of the year, you start with 136. By the time you head into October, maybe you're looking at 50 to 60 week to week, and so on and so forth, until you're down to maybe about 30 teams in the month of November. So you're constantly moving. Now, of course, you still pay attention to everybody. And I said this last year, one of the funny things was that Arizona State was one of the teams that I kind of process of eliminated after they lost to Cincinnati. And so, like, it's never going to be a perfect science. And sometimes you have to go back and rewatch and catch up with teams that maybe you wrote off a little bit too early. But you know what? In a sport this big, sometimes you just have to live with the consequences.
Shahan Jararaja with us on 365 Sports. Of the teams in the top 5 or 10, Brett McMurphy had a note with us yesterday about how it's been forever since anybody outside of the top 7 ranked in the preseason poll in the college football era has been able to win the national title. That doesn't surprise me. But if there is somebody this year, who do you think that will be, knowing that Alabama's right outside 7, they're 8, and then you have a few others in the top 10 or 12. Is there anybody that you see that is not among that top group who you see as somebody that is going to make a run at it?
So I do think that the top 8 or 9 this year is pretty set in stone at this point. I think that I would take that group over the field, for example. Alabama, like you mentioned, a team that's not technically in the group, I think belongs as part of the group. And I think LSU as well, who I believe is the number 9 team in the country, is maybe one of the most undervalued national title contenders this year. They really rebuilt their secondary through the transfer portal. They've got, in my opinion, maybe the best quarterback in the country coming back in Garrett Nussmeier, along with a stacked wide receiver group. The big question for them is going to be whether they can rebuild their offensive line after losing a couple of great tackles. But they're a team that I think has been building to this moment. And they, I think, understand with a second-year quarterback what you need to accomplish. And so I think they built a roster that gives them a chance to do so. Once you get past the top 10, though, I don't see Miami being in that group. Obviously, I think when you start getting down to the Michigans, the South Carolinas, I just don't know that there's a team that could jump up. So I think that top 9 is just about right.
Do you think that Tennessee got maybe too much of the benefit of the doubt being in the poll at all, given the tragic quarterback situation that happened to them in the spring?
Yeah, I wouldn't have personally had them in my top 25. I didn't think that number 24 is egregious by any means. And I think that BYU was number 27. They kind of obviously had a similar situation. So for them to both be in that range felt fair enough to me. Again, I probably wouldn't have had either in my personal top 25, but this was a team last year that was led by their defense and their running back. And both of those factors from that team are gone before you even get to the quarterback. They needed Nico Iamaleava to take a step this year to maintain what they did last year, much less build on it as well. So I think that this is a team with a lot of complications. They do have a relatively easy schedule for the SEC, and that's going to give them a chance to at least find their footing. But I really just don't see this team as being a serious contender in the SEC or for a college football playoff spot.
Shahan, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time every Tuesday at 4 from CBS Sports. Shahan Jeyarajah with us on 365 Sports. Coming up next, former KU running back Brandon McAnderson and the career he had. He's a part of KU radio and also does a pregame show. I think it's a pregame or postgame show or both. He'll join us next. Yep. Oh, we have a super chat. Let's do the super chat before we take the break and come back from Kim Coulter. Tell Shahan to look for the 365 tent in Lubbock. I will text him that. Kim Coulter has our logo, the 365 Sports logo, on a big-time tailgate, which is right there where everybody has to walk by for most part to get inside the stadium up in Lubbock. This is 365 Sports. I was looking at the Don Chimodor and Coffee Beans. They're building a new website, and just looking at it, it's not launched yet, but it's enough to where I can look at it, maybe like Venmo. We don't sell cigars, we sell an experience. That's true. There are certain type cigars that people like, whether it's smooth or maybe a little bit more full. Even some that have a little bit of a not taste to it because you don't eat it, but just a little bit of something that you get on your tongue when you're smoking the cigar. We don't sell cigars, we sell an experience. Every day, drinkability redefined with what they have with their fresh coffee beans. They can grind them up right there in front of you with different aromas and taste for them too. Also, what they also have is two people, Cheyenne and also Joshua, who do a great job understanding what they have inside their store. They also have CBD product, Vita Dreams, to help you perhaps fall asleep much more comfortably at night. I have admitted this, and I do take it. Vita Dreams, a gummy. I usually wait about an hour before I want to probably end up going to bed. Sometimes I'll stay up a little bit longer, but when I lay down, I fall asleep. If I wake up an hour or two later for whatever reason, I don't feel like I've taken anything that knocked me out. It's never been like that. I fall asleep. I get extra rest. It takes away the tossing and turning, maybe things in your mind or whatever reason. It's fantastic. Don Chimodor and Coffee Beans, also for bad days. It's a gummy for a chronic pain. It's got THC in it, so ask them about that as well if you want. 48-foot walk-in humidor, the Texas cigar wall that is all the Texas swagger they can muster with homegrown Texas cigars, homemade right there in various parts of this great state. Don, Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Townwest Shopping Center between Valley Mills and Richland Drive in Waco.
Alan Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
I mentioned we are dropping in on some former players that played among the various teams in the Big 12, no matter who they were, where they played, when they played, etc. But we got Brandon McAnderson, running back at KU, part of KU Radio. He joins us on 365 Sports. Brandon, thank you very much for being a part of the show.
Glad to be here.
What was it like when you got into radio and the broadcast business? Was it simple because you played the game, or is it something you had to kind of learn along the way?
Definitely things I had to learn.
You're muted. We got you muted. I'm not sure. Let's see if we can get that fixed. Nope. Anything? Huh? You're getting him? Okay, yeah, we cannot hear you, Brandon. Want to try to reestablish it, Garrett? We're gonna pop out of it and we'll come back on, Brandon. We'll reconnect with you. Brandon Anderson, former KU running back. Back in the day when they had that great run in the Orange Bowl, remember, with Mark Mangino, who I saw a video or a picture, visited practice at Lawrence or in Lawrence the other day. He's a dude now, a big alpha running back at KU, and got a couple of good stories Kevin Flaherty shared with me about him too.
Yeah, I remember his time there. Again, big dude, love the big running backs. 5'10", 235.
Yeah,
in his senior year, like that's the guy you don't want to get in front of.
Yeah, the grinders. I think you always have to have an offset of, you got to have the guys that can go. He could do that too, but also somebody that could move the pile, and also was a hell of a special teams player along the way too. But got him? All right, here we go. Brandon McAnderson, former KU running back, KU Radio, joins us again on 365 Sports. Thank you very much for your time. When you transitioned into the radio business, was that easy for you? All right, we're gonna call your cell phone. We're gonna call your cell phone. Sorry about that. Cannot hear him. We'll get him on that particular way. KU with Lance Leipold. You know, I sent him a text. He's so good. When we had him on Big 12 Media Days, and he asked us about Jalen Daniels, and he sent a text. I just checked in with him the other day to say hi about the new surroundings, the stadium. He's thrilled with it, Booth Stadium, and what they have. It was good to hear from him. Brandon McAnderson, KU running back again, former KU running back. Brandon, we'll try it again. Sorry about the technical issues. What was it like to transition? Was it easy or something you had to learn along the way when you got into radio and the broadcast business?
Definitely something I had to learn along the way. I think the thing that helped me a lot is I just like to talk. So if you put somebody that likes to talk in front of a microphone, it usually works out.
Brandon, what do you think about this team as they move forward? Last year, thought it might be a bounce back. It took Jalen Daniels a few games to get his sea legs back, but it now looks like he's healthy and comfortable. And we talked to him Big 12 Media Days. He seems like he's got his swagger back.
Yeah, this is an excellent team. I don't know how else to describe them. When you go watch them in practice, you see older players, you see physical players, and you see a guy at quarterback that's going on his 6th year in college football who's experienced just about everything. And now he's in a system that he's familiar with that's really going to play to the benefits of his game as a guy who is a really, really intuitive option quarterback. And I think it just adds to all the things he can do with his arm in the backfield.
Brandon, what's it like to have excitement on a year-in, year-out basis now? I mean, it's been strung enough together, I think. Last year, not a bowl game, but right on the precipice of it. 9 the year before, bowl game the year prior to that. So it's kind of stringing some things together. What's that resulted in Lawrence as far as just enthusiasm and excitement, especially as we get into the precipice of another season?
I think there's amongst the fan base, there is a little bit of apprehension, because Kansas is known for these really high highs and followed by really low lows. And you kind of always feel like the carpet will get pulled out from under you. As a media member and as an alumnus, I get to go to the practices. I'm not having that experience. Everything that seems like the best version of what this thing could be, I feel like I see something behind closed doors that could be even greater. So I feel like from a development standpoint, it's a gravy train with biscuit wheels situation. You talked about the 2 bowl game seasons, the 9-win season. I feel like last year is more similar to just what happens in college football. Some bounces don't go your way, lots of heartbreak. Guys learning to win together, and it just never fully gelled. You saw a really good team at its peak. You didn't see a really good team consistently throughout the season. And I think that's just the ups and downs of the experience.
Kansas State has had a lot of success, as you know, against KU the last, 20, 25 years. But you were part of breaking one of those streaks when you, a lead block that led to the game-winning touchdown to stop an 11-game losing streak to the Wildcats back in 2004?
Yes, I was in both. 2004, sprung a block, got John Randall in the end zone. That was the first time we had won at our own stadium. And I can't remember exactly how many years. It might have been 11. And then 2007, we won in Manhattan, and it had been around the same period of time since we won. The win in Manhattan was one of my favorites. I'm a Lawrence native, so you grow up in Lawrence. Half your teachers are from Manhattan, and half your teachers are from Lawrence. It's just how it goes, So you don't grow up hating K-State. You grow up with a healthy disdain and that competitive fire. But that was my favorite win, to do it out in Manhattan.
It took you a while before you became the guy, and you were really good on special teams. In fact, I got a story about that I'm going to ask you about. But 190 carries, 1,125 yards, 16 touchdowns, team captain in 2007. What was it like for you to do? What was it like to remain patient? Because in this day and age, you know what that's like. You're not the guy, you're transferring somewhere else, and it all seemed to pay off for you.
Yeah, it was mostly about trust. I tell these young athletes that are looking for a place to go, don't commit to a program that you don't trust, because you're going to hear the truth before you're ready to hear it. And as a young man, I didn't want to hear that I wasn't ready to play, but I trusted the support system around me, and I basically came to the conclusion that every year I was going to contribute more this season than I did the previous season. That could mean special teams. That could mean lead blocking. I played fullback before I got a chance to run the ball, and I was wrestling other people for reps, whether it be blocking, picking up blitzes on third downs, lead blocking on screens, whatever whatever it took to get me on the field, I was willing to do. And there just happened to be an opening at the tailback position, and I took it because that's what I learned in college football was you're not going to get a million chances. You're going to get a couple. And if you don't maximize them, you're not going to get any. So I was more focused on being efficient with the time I had.
And you were. That 07 season, I mean, as a team, obviously historical, but, I mean, you eclipsed every statistic, every main statistic. You had more carries in that season than all the rest of your career, more yards, more touchdowns, et cetera. What was it like to not only have that team success, obviously, but to have such a weight on your shoulders and to be able to carry it and just, have such a successful run like that?
Well, it's the way that I always felt. There's guys sitting, we talk about the transfer portal and why guys are always transferring. It's because they truly believe that they're the guy and they just need the right opportunity. That's how I felt. I want pressure. I want expectations. If the game's on the line, give it to me. We'll get where we want to go. That's how I felt as an athlete. And I feel like that's embodied in a lot of athletes we see today. And just, I got the opportunity and I wasn't going to shy away. And I wanted that type of pressure and I was glad to have it.
Brandon, what was it like playing with Todd Reesing? He was nobody thought he was going to be good. He was a smaller guy and all that, but he had moxie, and you guys, and that kind of bled over into your team, didn't it?
Yeah, he just was. I mean, this guy was like 95% charisma and like 5% athlete. Like he just had a belief in himself that was unlike any other person I'd ever been around. In practice, sometimes you really didn't even feel it. Sometimes in practice you'd be looking over at him like, "Are you good, man?" But when that whistle blew on Saturdays, he thought he was the baddest dude, and he went out and proved it as much as he possibly could. He was just tough, and he had guts, and he was fearless, and he was just unbothered. He was a perfect player to succeed in a system when you're young, right? Because he didn't know any better. He wasn't scared. He didn't know any better. But what he did know was that he was good and that he was a bad man. And he went out there every day and proved it, and that spread across our team. When you have the charisma of Todd Reesing combined with the charisma of Aqib Talib, that's a pretty strong character-built team right there.
You were a special teams guy, right? I mean, that's kind of how you cut your teeth. And so in the Orange Bowl against Virginia Tech, there was a fake punt. And I heard it ended well. You guys ended up having that great run. What a great win, too. What happened during that play, and did it change, or did you throw to the wrong guy, but it worked?
Yeah, so I was a personal protector on punt, and if you don't know what that is, that's the guy that everyone's trying to confuse and run their face off. So it's a really hard job. So there's guys creeping from the corners, they're flipping sides, there's 6 guys on this side. So you got to do all this figuring out. So I did that job for 3 years. It's a hard job. I mean, you get hit in the face a lot. You hit big guys, you have to move, you get outsmarted. So we had this check called fire check. And basically, if there was ever a corner that came off of a gunner, I could throw the ball out there if we were in fire check. I had played my whole career and done this awful job my whole career. And we had never called fire where a corner actually crept in. So I wish I could say it was some intuitive embracing of the moment. It wasn't. I honestly felt like I've never had the opportunity to do this. I'm just going to do it. And I threw it out there and no one was on him. He happened to stop out of confusion and the ball just landed in his hands and he took off down the sideline and it worked out. I think the best part of that for me was later on in that drive, I fumbled and we ended up, and it pushed us back out of field goal range. And I think we threw an interception a couple plays later. And I came to the sideline. And, Mangino was happy that it succeeded, but it wasn't what he called. It wasn't the way that we called it. It wasn't to the person we called it. And he walks right up to me and he goes, "Brandon, we're not playing Shawnee Mission West," which is a high school down the street from us in Lawrence in the Kansas City area. And even at that moment where I knew he was needling me, I still laughed. It was just funny. I honestly wish that there was some glory story to that, but it was really just the thought of, we never call this play. Why not?
Did Mangino visit practice earlier this week or at some time over the weekend? Did I see that with you and him? Yeah. How do you guys stay in touch even, I guess, to this day, huh?
Yeah, we do. We have a good relationship, man. It was just good to see him. He was inducted into the Kansas Hall of Fame in 24, but couldn't come. So he came in 25 and then visited practice on that Sunday. So we got a chance to just look at the stadium and kind of reminisce. And, Mangino was such a warrior for improved facilities at the University of Kansas. He talked about it so much to us, and he talked about it to us as, hey, you're doing this work. You deserve this, and I'm going to fight for this every day. I have the most vivid memory of 2004. We went down and played at Nebraska, and I think we lost 13-6. We were in the game, just couldn't figure out a way to score. And, Nebraska has notoriously great facilities. I mean, they're beautiful. A visitor locker room was far in excess of what we had. And I just remember Mangino expressing frustration about, why do they get this? Why can't we have facilities like this? You guys deserve it. And it's just so cool to be sitting in that facility going through some cool innovation. They had a giant walk-through room in the stadium. His coaching brain was about to explode. It was just cool to see the things that he fought for and the things that we fought for. And now these guys get to experience this beautiful facility that they're going to get to play football in.
Where do you rank Daniel Highshaw on the Brandon McAnderson scale of guys who'll run through people?
Oh my God! Sometimes I hesitate to talk about him because he's so special, and he's just had bad injury luck. And if he didn't have bad injury luck, he would be a feature back in this country. People would be talking about him because he is multifaceted. This guy can completely run through your face, but he can run away from you. He's got a little wiggle. He's got great hands, and he's the best pass pro back I've ever seen in my life. He's just the best pass pro back I've ever seen in my life. Just a strong, compact, explosive player who looks fantastic, looks like an action hero. I cannot wait to see him get the football.
Well, the pass pro part of it, no matter how good he might be, explosive he might be as a running back, but as you know, the NFL scouts, they drool over somebody out of college, right, that can pass pro?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And this is not a guy, he's not huge. He's 5'9", 210, 215. This guy can take on 250-pound linebackers in a hole and bench press them and finish them. Like, it's not just him holding his own. I've seen this guy finish bigger linebackers to the ground from a full sprint blitz. He's just special at it. He's just better than anyone I've seen. I'm excited for him for a lot of reasons, but he's kind of got the same thing as Jalen, where he's been playing football for a long time. I was watching this guy as a true freshman play against OU, with one of the poorest O-lines I've ever seen, fighting for yards, scoring touchdowns. This guy has seen a lot, done a lot. I'm ready for his injury luck to get right, too. And with a healthy JD and a healthy Daniel, that'll be a fun season.
I saw that you have a couple of hobbies, bowling and singing. Which one are you better at?
I would say I haven't bowled in a while, so I would say singing. I just, once again, back to the talking thing, the voice thing. I just can't help it. My mom used to call me Mr. Melody when I was young. So you can catch me at a karaoke night, and I do have a bucket list to sing in a band that performs at Chili's at one point in my life. So I do want to be able to be one of those guys that's just either singing background. I'll take lead, whatever it takes, but I do love to sing.
I like that you have high goals.
Yeah, no question. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Look,
how am I going to end up in the LA theaters if I don't start at Chili's?
Here's the deal: don't start at Chili's. Start at like a Ruby Tuesdays, and then move
there
up.
You go.
Move up to Chili's.
Yeah.
Well, it's been fun talking to you. KU, obviously, Paul brought that up. Not quite at the end. The loss to Baylor ended any kind of bowl opportunity, but it seemed like what Leipold has done. We love the guy. We've had him on the show, both in person and also on the phone. We like Kleiman too, with with K-State and what he means. We like both of them a lot. And it seems like that everything's pointing upwards. How important then, saying that, because of last year, do they need to get off to a nice start and get themselves in position where there's no stress about getting to the postseason in a bowl game or more?
I think this team has bigger aspirations, and I have so many favorite things about Coach Leipold. I don't even know where to start the list. But if you're going to build a program at the University of Kansas, you want it to be a developmental program. And what I see every year is this staff will go out and get transfers, and everybody will be really excited about the transfers and what they can be. And then those guys come here and don't play. And it's mostly because the guys that are already here have developed to a point where they're equal or better than the players they're bringing in. So the competition and the depth continues to grow and grow and grow. And then Coach Gildersleeve and the strength and conditioning staff is amazing. Like, the physical bodies of these people, it's hard to describe, walking by Bryce Foster and seeing some of the men that are going to be playing in the trenches, Calvin Clements, Tommy Dunn Jr. These are not little engine that could Big 12 bodies. These are big men football, SEC pedigree football players, and they have a lot of them. And what Coach Leipold has been able to do in building that has been amazing. I don't think this team is thinking about preserving themselves for an opportunity to get to a bowl game. I think they're thinking about a Big 12 title. And how could you not after watching Arizona State, after playing them down to the wire and losing at their place, losing by 4 points in what was a great Big 12 game? You can't look at them and think to yourself, man, if we could just get to a bowl game. You know what I mean? You're looking at them thinking, we'll have an opportunity to win a championship. We are old. We are good. And if we're healthy, we can do that. So I think they're going to be thinking about big, big dreams.
Brandon, we want to get you on again down the road. We appreciate your time. Great to have you on the show. Keep up the good work with what you're doing with the broadcast.
Absolutely.
And more. Thank you.
Have a good time.
Brandon McAnderson, former KU running back, 1,125 yards, 16 touchdowns in 2007. And we'll have him on again. Thanks for his time. Jayhawks, Lance Leipold, and KU running back, former KU running back, Brandon McAnderson. Craig Smoak off the radar. Around the corner at 5, Brandon Marcello, CBS Sports, John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, Paul's Top 5, and Andrew Valade. And his poll results, 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Fastest growing pizza brand in America. And they're always looking for somebody to start up a new franchise wherever you might be. Bob Mock here in Waco with 5 locations in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, Robinson, and also in Woodway. They have those Magnifico, what do I say again, Paul? Magnifico pizzas. Bob kind of giggled when he said, I love the way you say Magnifico. What is it again? Magnifico. It's stressing exact. So I had one of those the other day. Here, in fact, at the studio, I ordered a couple of pizzas. They brought them by, and one of them was the all-meat. Pepperoni, the Italian sausage, all of what you could imagine on the pizza. I like thin crust. Not everybody does, but I do. And I noticed, and I don't know if I've remembered this or not, because I've gotten the Italian on the pizza many different times, but they have that old school Italian. It is really good. And it's not just the little lumps. It is flat. And I talked to Bob about it. And he said, hey, I'll get you a big old bag of those if you want, because I like to make my own pizza. I've got the stone, the board, the spatula, and more. It's Marco's Pizza. They make the best pizza. Pizza lovers love it.
At Sturdy Steel, we build more than grandstands and press boxes. We build the spaces where communities come together. Based in Texas and serving communities nationwide, we're proud of our reputation for dependable, high-quality work and strong client relationships that stand the test of time. From concept to installation, our team of skilled drafters, welders, and installers takes pride in delivering seating solutions designed to last. With a focus on dependability, transparency, and service, we are here to make the unique needs of architects, contractors, schools, and venues across the country. We ensure every project is seamless, sturdy, and ready for generations of fans to enjoy. That's Sturdy Steel.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at Baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Penny Clinic Waco and reach out to the Penny Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pennycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
365 Sports rolls along. Busy day, college football. You could smell it, feel it, hear it, read it right around the corner. Craig Smoak now with his Tuesday and Thursday off the radar.
All right. Well, welcome in everybody, and or welcome back, I guess, in some cases. And for those just joining us, just a segment a couple days a week to take a look at some other stories outside of particularly college football, although we'll mix and mingle that in as it warrants. But this is sort of a college football note, and not one I think we'll spend more than a few seconds on, but it just came down a little while ago, and it just bummed me out a little bit because I think about how great this guy was in college football not that long ago, and his NFL career has not turned out to be at all what I thought it might be able to be at one point in time. But Rondale Moore, knee injury ending his season for the second year in a row, that coming out of Vikings camp in Eagan, Minnesota. The receiver, punt return man, had a knee injury in Saturday's preseason game, and it does turn out after looking at the MRI test results that it will be 2 years in a row that he will miss a full season. So he has been placed on injured reserve, and that's been the tale of his career basically the entire time is, can he stay healthy? Started off with the Cardinals as a second-round pick, missed time with them because of various injuries, and that also then included him being with the Falcons, getting hurt during training camp with them at one point, and signed a 1-year deal this offseason with Minnesota, was looking at the punt return job, and then maybe a back-end receiver, but mostly a return man, and that's off the table now, and you wonder how many cracks he gets at the NFL at this point from here on out. So, yeah, just a dude I really, and I think most college football fans really had fun watching at Purdue not that long ago, and I really thought he might be something in the NFL, but man, he's small. That was always a concern, and small guys get injured easier sometimes, and certainly in his case, health has been the biggest factor for him and his NFL career not taking off.
I'll never forget the first time I saw him was at Purdue, and they were playing Nebraska, and I was like, that guy can be a star. So hard to get a hold of. He could do it all. He could run, catch, all that. But he was fantastic in that game. I remember in a Purdue win. Of course, they won that game. But that sucks, man. Just an electric player who now pretty much is done.
Yeah, I thought the Vikings, when they signed him, I said that's a kind of a fun fit. They're next to Justin Jefferson if he's healthy. J.J. McCarthy needs experienced dudes around him. I guess Jordan Addison's probably going to get suspended for a couple games to start the year, but even then when he comes back, that's a nice little group of wide receivers they have, and then he gets hurt. It's such a bummer because we didn't get to see a fully realized career. But yeah, the little guys, they're tough. I mean, it's tough to make it. everybody's bigger and stronger in the NFL.
It's like the Deuce Vaughn thing when everybody's like, well, he's quick and he's got this and he's got that. And then you saw him on the field and you're like, oh, damn. Like, yeah, the size thing is very real. And Rondale Moore, a smaller guy by nature, I don't think that's helped at all. So, yeah, just saw that come down a little while ago. So I make mention of that because, I just immediately thought of his career at Purdue and just what a shame it is that his NFL career is not working out. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the NFL, which is where we'll stay for another story, the Nevada Supreme Court had a very interesting ruling for people that have been following along with the John Gruden lawsuit. On Monday, John Gruden saw the Nevada Supreme Court side with him in his allegations that the NFL leaked damaging emails to the media before he was forced to resign from the Raiders as their head coach in 2021. Justices did not determine whether or not the league had leaked the emails, but they found that the league's decision to force his complaint into arbitration proceedings overseen by Roger Goodell was unconscionable, and they ruled 5-2 in favor of Gruden's allegations there. But yeah, that is still like there's some loose ends, and that will all see perhaps more clarity now as a result of this. But it says, as a former employee, Gruden should not have been bound by a provision in the NFL Constitution mandating arbitration for such complaints. Now we get into lawyer language, and I don't know about you, but my eyes start to glaze over. That's why I usually defer to Paul. But I bring that up because that's something that maybe you thought would just go away at some point or something, but he's like not backing down from it. And in fact, now the Nevada Supreme Court has ruled in his favor. Well, now I bring it back up again because not only is it just interesting on that front alone that like, oh, damn, somebody's challenging the NFL and actually has a case, but the NFL is now officially appealing, as you might imagine. The ruling from Monday that Gruden can proceed with a lawsuit and not go through the league for arbitration. So that's obviously not what they want. They're requesting a hearing or a rehearing from the very same court that overturned a prior Supreme Court Nevada ruling in May 2024 that the matter could go to arbitration. So they're trying to get more favorable, I guess.
Okay. Well, it's arbitrated by Roger Goodell, so automatically it's not fair in a legal sense, and you wouldn't want it arbitrated by Roger Goodell if you're John Gruden. But John Gruden is not like, here's a key point here. John Gruden is not trying to get his job in the NFL back currently.
Right.
He's
apparently trying to go to college football.
Yeah, how interesting is the timing of this?
Yeah, I
that
mean, like
he brought up he wants to get back in, and then you have this.
Also, okay, that is very interesting because I would very publicly state, if I'm winning this case right now, that I would like to coach in college where Roger Goodell is not.
Right.
So this is just about me winning this lawsuit and not about me getting a job in the NFL.
Yeah.
Therefore, it now doubly disqualifies the fact that Roger Goodell should have any say over this. As a matter of fact, he should have no say over this because I'm suing the league because I was unjustly treated in this. And look, the Raiders can fire him if they want to for any reason, for cause or whatever, and then deal with that. And look, I understand why they did, because when you see all this stuff and then he has to go back in that locker room.
Well, think about the time period we were in.
Yeah. But like he still has to go back in the locker room, whether it's then, now, before, and look at all those people and be like, it's kidding. And it's hard. It's hard to regain that credibility when so much of the chemistry of a locker room is built on trust. In the middle of the season that happened, he was not getting that trust back that year. That was not going to happen. So the Raiders had to let him go. Now, should anybody have probably ever found out about his emails with Bruce Allen? No, probably not. Doesn't make what he wrote right. But the fact is, we probably should have never known about it. So the question remains, why do we know about it? Because somebody at the league office leaked it to distract from a bigger situation. Because John Gruden being maybe a racist is a very minor situation compared to, hey, one of the owners might be stealing from the other 31.
Yeah. So you can see why the NFL does not want this to go into full-blown court proceedings, but that's where it's headed as of right now. So they are going to file an appeal, and we'll see if that works in their favor. But I don't know. I feel pretty good about Gruden just moving forward, and I think that makes the NFL very, very nervous, but that makes it also very interesting because, guys, they're not untouchable. They're not invincible by any stretch of the imagination, but they are kind of like the big bad scary in a lot of ways. So I think Gruden is obviously very successful in his own right. Barstool's kind of helped revive his career doing stuff with them. These gift back box openings from all these college programs that I see constantly across my feed. He's definitely got a lot of fans, and he's got my interest now, because now that this thing's moving forward to a level where it's getting kind of real and it's not just going to quietly be pushed to the side, I find that fascinating, and I'm very eager to learn what all we end up potentially learning from this, because I don't think this is him trying to like win some money. This is him trying to clear his entire reputation. They basically just smeared the hell out of him, whether intentionally or not is what they're going to decide. But yeah, his image was tarnished, and he's been able to repair that in the years since. But you can see where, this is personal. This is very personal. And so I'm interested in how far down the line we go with this thing.
And look, I believe everybody, especially when you get caught up in something like this, should have an ability to show that this is not who you are, that you made a mistake. I think that that's important, and it's important for John Gruden. And look, I probably, if I was the Raiders, still would have fired him because I couldn't have, or suspended him or something, because there was no way in the middle of that year I was going to get my locker room back. But if I'm also the Raiders and I'm mad about, because I want John Gruden to be my coach and now I have to fire him, I'm kind of also mad at the league, because what does my team have to do with anything that Dan Snyder's doing? Really nothing.
Yeah. No, it's a weird story. So John Gruden's lawsuit is moving forward against the NFL, and we'll see where we land with that as that continues to go through the proper channels. But very interesting stuff, and NFL clearly would not like it going down this direction much further, but they don't have the say right now, so they are appealing and trying to get some more say. Also, from over this past week, kind of out of nowhere, quite frankly, but the massive announcement from the UFC that they have a new television deal. They had their deal with ESPN these past few years. They are owned by the TKO group, or they are part of the TKO group along with the WWE under the Endeavor umbrella. But the WWE just announcing various deals over the last year that they've been putting together, including the new ESPN deal, where they're going to be a major player in the new ESPN direct-to-consumer platform, which we can get into all that at some point. But I was shocked by what I saw. Like, the amount of shows they run, it makes sense, and especially when you realize UFC is also leaving, so they're going to have to replace that. And WWE runs as many, if not more, shows than the UFC does, so I can see it from that sense. But then I saw the price tag for UFC as well, and the Endeavor folks are just cleaning up, man, between the WWE ESPN deal and now the Paramount UFC deal. I mean, we're talking billions upon billions of dollars in new. And the thing with like the WWE is they got other stuff they can still spin off to other companies. That's not like everything under one umbrella. The UFC deal, however, is. And the UFC deal, 7 years, $7.7 billion starting in 2026. You will be able to, with a Paramount Plus subscription, watch all 13 of their major marquee events, as well as their 30 fight nights. And previously, you could get the fight nights on ESPN Plus, but if you wanted to watch the pay-per-view, you still had to pay $70, $80, which that got insane, like the price tags on pay-per-views. I remember paying like $20, $30 in the 2000s, late 90s.
Not all pay-per-views are created equal.
No, they're
either.
not.
So it's,
that was especially the case for them as well. I mean, like you had, when it's Ronda and it's Conor and it's John Jones and it's some of these people, that's one thing. But, when it's not, it's just these random fights they're putting together. That's quite a different deal. So you're charging $70, $80. But that's not a worry now. If you sign up to Paramount Plus, you're going to be able to get all 13 of what they call their numbered events. So UFC 252, UFC 257, whatever. And they basically have said with this announcement, pay-per-view's dead. And so that's part of why they're moving over to this model. But massive deal. I think like wholly overpay, honestly. I don't know what Endeavor's got other than just great relationships. But when I saw the WWE deal and how much they like doubled, tripled what they were making previously, and only for a sliver of WWE's like pay-per-view, not all their TV rights. And then you see $1 billion plus a year for the UFC from from Paramount Plus now. It's a great time to be a part of TKO. I know that damn much.
Yeah. Paramount Plus is when Yellowstone, wasn't that what I would have been probably the first time I started
I don't have
watching
Paramount Plus. I've never had Paramount Plus, but they've got like Comedy Central. They've got Yellowstone. They've got the Yellowstone spinoffs,
Showtime,
Comedy
CBS,
Central, South Park, like all that kind of stuff they do have on there. So I've never been signed up for it. I need to see more details. Like, this is tempting, but I need to see the actual price tag when it happens. Like, is it $10? That might be enticing to get pay-per-views, but like you said, not all pay-per-views are created equal either. And UFC fans had a bugaboo because the shows, there were so many shows, but you were still having to pay $70, $80 for the pay-per-view on top of ESPN Plus. And then every pay-per-view, quite frankly, wasn't that great or that star-studded. So seems to be, I don't know about for the casual fan, but for a UFC fan, this is like this is the greatest thing of all time.
Yeah, if you're a major UFC fan, you're going to get Paramount Plus just because you're be able to watch everything. If you're someone who only watches once in a while, you're going to go to somebody's house with Paramount Plus and watch it, probably.
For sure.
Or bar or something like that. I have Paramount Plus. I like it. But I mean, if you don't watch, you have to, if I'm going to buy something, a streaming service, I have to watch more than one thing on it.
Yeah.
Or if the one thing I want to watch on it is the only thing I care about in the whole world, then I guess it would be justified because I'm watching it all the time. But, Paramount Plus, I watch several things on it, but I'm not really a UFC guy, but now, I mean, maybe I will be because I have it.
It's going to be right there.
I can turn it on and watch it, and I don't have to go through the rigmarole. And that's part of the other problem was I would watch some UFC back in my single days when I was on ESPN, when it was free ones or normal ones, where I already paid for. But then when you're telling me $85 for a pay-per-view, and I'm like, well, if it's Conor McGregor, then maybe we can get together and do that. But
I wouldn't even do that for him at this point.
Yeah, not now. No,
I know.
No.
And even because back then Conor McGregor was $85,
Couture,
it was still like $40.
All those guys back in the day.
I mean, Couture has like 25 years ago, but he would have been one of the headliners at that point in time, and Liddell eventually, and then so on. And now there's been 25,000 different people who have been top stars. So UFC and Paramount Plus, what a get that is. For Paramount Plus, I suppose. I don't know how they're making their money back, though. Like, advertising, obviously, and UFC is global. But, dude, like, compared to the deal they were getting at ESPN, you're more than doubling what they were getting. Now, I know pay-per-views are a part of this, so that makes it make some sense. That otherwise, when I first saw this, I was like, why would you willingly, like, double or triple the money they were making? Oh, okay, pay-per-views are now all under the umbrella. That makes it make sense.
Well, mind you, they just had this big merger.
Yeah,
that's been very controversial for a lot of reasons. But they just had the big merger. They need big news. Like, again, so like you just had this big merger. There's been a little controversy around it, and if you can get people, oh, hey, UFC, okay, well, all right, let's go. So
there you go. There's off the radar. There's a few things off the radar. So I know we got Brandon Marcello coming up here. So
do we have men? No, you're good.
All right. So final notes then will be on the Little League World Series, because I could keep going on about the UFC stuff. Like the WWE ESPN deal.
That's why you should do a podcast on them.
No, but WWE ESPN deal, I still don't quite know what ESPN's getting their money from. I feel like it was a little bit of an overpay, in my opinion. UFC with the pay-per-views, I can understand, like I've said a couple times now. But the WWE deal, that also includes pay-per-views. I don't know. It doesn't include all the TV, though. It's not like the full meal deal. It's just a good chunk of it. So we'll see if that ultimately works out for ESPN. But they basically, those two companies have raised Endeavor's net worth quite a bit, or their payroll or what have you. They've raised that quite a bit, those two mega deals for that company in the last couple of weeks.
The money never stops. It'll just always be there, and they'll find a way to sell it, make money. There are some things you get to lose money. No, you're going to lose money, but in the end, it also helps you get more publicity too.
So we
go ahead and do the World Series real quick.
Okay, college World Series. We enjoyed that this past spring. Now it's on to middle of August, and that means the Little League World Series is getting underway. And I don't know how much you guys pay attention to this at this point. The U.S. is on a nice run, 6 titles in a row for teams from the United States, and so they'll try to make it 7 in Williamsport as that starts to get underway this week. And just wanted to highlight as that starts tomorrow officially, and we'll run through next Tuesday. But just running through the teams real quick, and I won't get into the details, but you've got a team from Clarendon Hills, Illinois, Fairfield, Connecticut. I'm going to butcher the team from Pennsylvania, Upper Wouchlawn Township.
Sounds good to me.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Las Vegas, Nevada, Braintree, Massachusetts, Bonnie Lake, Washington, Irmo, South Carolina, Richmond, Texas, Lamar Little League out of Richmond, Texas, and then Honolulu, Hawaii, representing the U.S., and then teams from Taipei, Australia, British Columbia, Canada, Aruba, Czechia, Japan, Venezuela, Mexico, Panama, and Puerto Rico will be a part of the field as well. And so, again, that gets underway tomorrow.
Remember when you played in Waco, you had a really good team you were playing for, a select team or whatever it was, and you lost to that team, Houston Lamar?
Yeah.
I think that's Richmond. I think that's the same program.
They still have 17-year-olds playing 12-year-old baseball.
They had a big lefty that looked like Fernando Valenzuela.
My favorite part is when you get in the regional, like especially the United States, we have so many different accents. I can't wait to hear the Massachusetts kid be like, "Hi, I'm Sully Sullivan.
Right.
I'm 14 years old, and I love to hit bombs.
And I'm a cast member of The Departed."
Yeah.
Did you say balls or bongs?
Bombs.
Okay,
bombs.
Okay.
I guess both.
I hit dingers.
Yeah, them too. Yeah.
My favorite player is David Ortiz, and if you don't like me, you're a wimp.
Yeah. And I hate Philadelphia.
Yeah.
All right, Craig, anything else?
Oh, that's it. So Little League World Series helps stem in the gap a little bit, along with everything else that continues on, MLB, WNBA, all that jazz. But yeah, something a little different if you're into that sort of thing. I'll maybe catch a few minutes here and there, but yeah, I think it's a cool event every year.
No, it's an unbelievable event. It's always a dream growing up is to have a chance to ever even sniff being able to be a part of that as you went around from one state to the other, region to another to get to Williamsport. We're now joined by Brandon Marcello, CBS Sports. He joined us on 365 Sports. Brandon, thank you very much for your time. What's your take on the John Mateer story?
Right out of the gates.
But I'm bummed. Let's just start with a fastball up and in, right?
Kept me up all night because I was having to follow it and dig on it. We're in a weird world, and I as a journalist, you constantly question everything. You have questions like, well, what if it's this? What if it's this? Even if it's like a 2% chance. And my first reaction when I actually saw like the screenshots and everything, I just immediately thought, it looks like someone just putting in maybe a funny descriptor in their payment, because who would be dumb enough if they're gambling on something to literally put in the description, sports gambling. So that was kind of one of my first thoughts. And then I kind of just thought it would lead to this. What happened today is a denial. It's a false accusation. These were inside jokes. And then of course, OU saying we take this seriously, we'll look into or whatever. So it's almost like a TMZ-ish story where it's just like this. It's almost like reality TV coming at us in real time. Or getting to follow it, and it's fascinating because you're seeing maybe the personal side of someone you don't really get to see, and just how ludicrous something like that could be. But here in the end, we're not even 24 hours into this quote unquote news story that came out from a fan just going through players' Venmo transaction histories and found funny stuff. And then something that said sports gambling on it that, it's already starting to die down. Doesn't mean it's over, but, as one person put it to me today, it's like, you don't think that sports gambling is going on across the country among student athletes. I got something to tell you. And, it's just kind of, I don't know. It's just, you try to follow up on all this stuff, and it just seems like in this day and age, we're always looking for something. And there's the dangers of social media, but all of our lives being online, not just social media, but our lives being online, that you something that's up there, someone, if they can find it and they find a line that goes, it can really get you. And I just hope that someone wouldn't be dumb enough to put out their quote unquote sports gambling and describe it as sports gambling and something. But, a lot of people have been chasing this, and I'm ready for Saturdays. I'm ready for football.
No kidding. Yeah. So Mateer hopes he gets to play on Saturdays, depending on what ends up in the end.
Brandon, before we get to that, I saw a clip from you last week that I thought was really good. We talked about it on the show about we've got all these ADs that are now kind of coming around, general managers, all this to collective bargaining, and that's all well and good. It's probably the quickest way to solve this problem, but there's no quick way to solve this problem. And you highlighted the fact that basically college athletes will all need to have proxies to do this. And that is not easy to solve because people are going to be gone in 5 years if they get eligibility the way that they want. So just best guess, a decade before we even got to it if they tried?
It'll be at least several years because there's a lot of things that have to change in Washington as far as just laws. And then commissioners opening the door for, player representation, though, as you said, and then people I've talked to, there's more ADs coming around to the idea that there needs to be a players association or collective bargaining. But even if they're like, okay, let's do this, it's a matter of how do you put it all together, because not every sport's the same. Not every level of one sport is the same. And for that matter, not every school is the same. Not every state is the same. So you got to figure out something that along those lines legislatively, but also, as you mentioned, this isn't like the NFL where in a players association, you're representing a certain amount of athletes, a certain amount of players, where in college football, you're talking about thousands and thousands, but there's different tiers to that. And then when you talk about representatives for that, you could put say a Diego Pavia up there, like he's the face of, the SEC or whatever, to help kind of do things for you in the meeting rooms for you. But he's only around for 2-3 years, and then you got to move on to the next guy. There's no consistency there. There's a lot of reasons why something like that just probably couldn't work. Doesn't mean it shouldn't work. And there's got to be something out there. My question is this a situation where, listen, okay, I'm going to backtrack here to say this. One administrator put it to me perfectly. You've never seen an employer go, hey, you guys need to create a union. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It comes from the workers themselves. They galvanize. They come together and say, we got to do this. Also, if that doesn't happen amongst the players, then we're not going to get anywhere. The players have to come up with this organically and do it. They can't have someone else tell them, hey, you need to do this. And then also, once they do that, you have to convince all these players that if you want to be part of this, you have to be willing at a moment's notice to go on strike. Because at some point, you will go on strike. That's going to happen. It's going to happen if you create a players association of some sort. It might happen in the offseason, might happen during the season. Are you willing to do that? Are you going to do it at a moment's notice if your organization says we're going to do this? There are a lot of hurdles, many hurdles. Can we get there over the next decade? I think so, but it's all going to start in Washington and then the players recognizing they need to galvanize themselves. I think we're still probably a couple years away in this new era of revenue sharing before players start wondering, we need to tweak this part of it, or we don't agree with this part of the new house settlement stuff and the revenue share. And then they start to come together. I still think we're a couple, maybe few years away from there actually being a movement that organically happens among the players. And then from there, there's still many hurdles to overcome.
So, Brandon, as a younger college football fan, years and years ago, I remember the stretch where for like 5 seasons in a row, John Gruden was going to be the coach at Tennessee, like the groomers, as you will. And, everybody's seen all the stuff that's floating out with his lawsuit against the NFL, but also the comments that he made about, he would love to coach in the SEC, and that's got a lot of people talking. What do you think the likelihood is that something like that could actually come to fruition?
Last September, I went down to Tampa and I hung out with him for a few hours. And we did an exclusive story with him. And he said for the first time ever, publicly to CBS Sports, I want to coach college football. Now, in that story, we did our due diligence and we spoke to dozens of administrators on the big level and also on the group of 6 level about whether they would even interview him, let alone say, hey, would you want him to be your head coach? And it was pretty split among all of them about Well, yeah, I would interview him, or heck, I don't even know if I'd interview him because of his past, but also because of his present, in the sense that he hasn't had a winning season in years, number one in the NFL. And secondly, he's never been a college head coach. Now, he's done a lot to, quote unquote, I guess, repair his image, so to speak. He's been in the media a lot more. He's been much more up front and center. And he's that type of personality that everybody kind of gravitates to anyway. So I think that there is a better chance today than there was even last September when I sat down with him. Having said all that, I have a theory here. As much as like his past can be a detriment to him and what he dealt with near the end of the NFL when those emails came out, and him getting employed anywhere, let alone being a head coach of a college football program. But we're always in the here and now, and people always kind of copy each other in sports. It's just how it happens. I think what happens at North Carolina under Bill Belichick this year might more greatly affect whether John Gruden could be a head coach in college football in a year or two. And why is that? Because the NFL background, they'll try to make comparisons. Well, if Bill Belichick struggles in his first year with the staff that would probably look very similar to one that John Gruden would build wherever he were to take over as a head coach somewhere in college football, you're probably going to see a little bit more reluctance from ADs out there to even interview, let alone hire John Gruden. Having said that, there will be people interested if he shows a general interest in wanting to do it. But my sense from talking to him even back in September, and then of course going through here in the future, is that he wants a bigger job. He doesn't want to go coach at a group of 6 school. He wants to be in the SEC or the Big Ten or something like that. But if there was a time to strike for him, it is this year, because he's been not necessarily a media tour, but he's been front and center with Barstool Sports. He's out there a lot. You could see his passion. He's one of the smartest football guys I've ever been around. Just in a few hours I was around him. I think he is a hell of a coach. I think he's a great developer of quarterbacks. And that's something that's certainly going to turn people on. But there are going to be a lot of jobs open this offseason coming up, especially in a league where he wants to coach, is what he said in that video that was released at Georgia. He wants to be in the SEC. And you could probably see as many as 5 jobs come open in the SEC this year. There wasn't one single change at head coach after last year, and that's only happened 3 times in this century in the SEC. But there's going to be a lot of jobs, and I'm sure his name will come up at a few places, and it's going to be fascinating to watch. But I'm actually kind of working on that. I'm not going to tip my hat, but I'm going to go back to some of the people I talked to back in September to see if their opinions have changed on him, and I'm fascinated to see what they think as well now.
One of my favorite things, and this leads into something we want to show in just a second, is when he brings in a box from Colorado or whoever it might be. And it reminded me of what I saw, and I texted you over the weekend. I sent you a text. Here's a video on Brandon Marcello's timeline from over the weekend.
Package from CBS Sports Today. I know what it is, but I can't wait to see it. You can probably guess. I don't know if you can guess what it is. Okay. Let's see. Looking forward to a great college football season. CBS Sports Talent Group. Me too. I'm glad we're finally in football season, because it seems like it's gone on forever without it. Here. Okay. Ooh. Fancy. It's a beaut. Look at that. Let's see if it fits. Oh, it fits. Oh, it fits. I'll see you on the sidelines.
All right, so there we are. It's like what Gruden would open up. The CBS patch, the CBS Sports, the history, the tradition is unbelievable, Brandon. Congratulations on that, and what you do all overall. But that had to be, you knew what it was, but it was still pretty cool to see it when you opened up the box.
Yeah, I think if you had a heart rate monitor on me, it'd be skyrocketing. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, because I knew I was working on, I was going to do some sideline stuff for the CBS Sports Network this season. And I just assumed, hey, I'm going to be on the field. So I didn't think about, I need to dress nice or whatever. Then they reached out to go, hey, what's your a good address for you? Because we need to send you a blazer. I went, oh, the CBS Sports blazer, the eye. on the left breast, the eye. And then I also thought, man, I'm going to be sweating quite a bit if I have to wear that thing on the sideline. Because my first game that I'm doing on the sidelines week 3, and it's in the South. So it's going to be pretty hot most likely. And but I'm just glad that the blazer is a darker color, so my sweat stains probably don't show through it. But I can't tell. I mean, it's an absolute dream, dude. It is so amazing to see that in person, but to know that I'm going to wear it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the pinnacle of sports broadcasting, in my opinion. I mean, any network jacket, you saw those growing up. I mean, even way back in the Monday Night Football games when they first started up in the 70s and the 80s and 90s. I can't believe that I even get to be among a group that's been able to wear that blazer. I can't put it into words. It's amazing.
Well,
Vern
congratulations.
Lundquist. I mean, like, think about that. Like, just like you can just go to one name, and like Vern Lundquist, like he got to wear it too. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
I think you need like a jacket. Like Gary Patterson had the sweat towel assistant. You need just a jacket holder. So then when they're like, "Hey, they tell you in the IFB, we're gonna go down to you," you can just like throw it on.
Yeah.
I might be willing to pay someone to do that for me just so I don't have to sweat through the thing. Or I might like the towel. I might just be like Jerry Tarkanian and just put a towel in my mouth and chew on it until I need it.
Look,
I need to do that.
Look, there are willing interns in every college town that would love to follow you around. So you'd be like, look, I know this is going to seem stupid, but you're going to have to hold my jacket.
I don't want to seem like I'm very difficult and a prima donna, because I've seen people out there. They're like, hey, can you carry my stuff in? I've never been that type of guy. I'm always helping everybody out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might like install like a little fan underneath there or something. Figure something out.
There'll be something. Yeah, there'll be something. Well, congratulations. I wanted to share that with you. That's a big moment, and you've earned that opportunity along with all the other stuff that you do.
Brandon,
thank you so much, guys.
Yeah,
I really
you're welcome.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Brandon, the season starts next week in Ireland. Did you ever think that you would be looking forward to a Farmageddon so much after an offseason like this?
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, here's the thing,
I love
man.
it, but like still.
I'm going to tell you, I mean, I love college football so freaking much. Like, you guys can't see it. I'm sitting in front of a gigantic, like, curved screen right now. I can put as many as 9 games on this, which it's not good, like, for attention or whatever. But the great thing about social media, like one of the few things great about social media, is that you can follow a game and it's something big happens. It's like a 20-second delay. So you're like, oh, I've got that game on here in the left corner, so I can go to it and see what just happened. And it's a community when you're watching college football on Saturdays, right? Everybody's watching, everybody's reacting to it. Everybody's showing their raw emotions. We're all like being human. We're not being stuck up jerks all the time. And you're sharing in that. And that first Saturday, whether it's a week 0 or week 1, I mean, getting to plop down and watch games, or my job now actually being to travel to the games, and just like simple, stupid stuff that no one thinks of. But like even the fact that like walking from my car to the stadium somewhere, it's like a 20, 30-minute walk, just pulling out my phone and watching the game or following on Twitter what's going on or listening to a game in my ears. And you're around the tailgating as you're walking up to the stadium. There's nothing like it in America. There's nothing like it in the world other than maybe soccer overseas. It's different. College football is different from the NFL, from every other sport. And I just love it. And I love being at a game and getting to write stories about players doing remarkable things that seem otherworldly and impossible to do physically, but also just from the human aspect of a lot of these kids had very difficult childhoods and had to bust their tails to get out of the situations they were in to become the top tier athletes in college. And then they get to go prove it out on the field and work and make themselves better by their God-given talents. And those stories is why I do what I do. I love being able to share their stories with everybody so you can humanize everything. And again, it's a big community. We all share it. And it's a raw emotion, and we all are real. Like for one day of the week on Saturdays when everybody just lets themselves out and be free and have fun.
Someone just said, I know you got to go. They retired stockbroker. I'll pay Brandon $1,000 if he opens up his first show and comment with "Hello, friends."
That's how it is. Yeah.
Yo, I've been thinking, like, what do I need to say? I have my own saying, which it's how I end shows or whatever I do it, but
right.
I don't know if I can ape that. I don't know if you can give me all the money in the world and say, if you just say that, because that's not my thing, and that's protected, man. That's that thing is so. I mean, it's Jim Nantz is so tied to CBS, and CBS is Jim Nantz, and Jim Nantz is CBS. That you leave that to Jim Nantz and CBS. I do not want to try and copy the greatest out there ever.
No, hey, you do be you. You do you, and Brandon, you do it well, man. We appreciate your time with us today. Thank you very much, and congratulations on the jacket.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Brandon
much.
Marcello, great stuff on Gruden and many things when it comes to college football. Somebody asked in the chat whether Gruden ever played the game at the college level. He never played, but he was a 3-year letterman at Dayton. He was a 3-year letterman playing at football at Dayton. Then, of course, immediately his first ever college job was a grad assistant at Tennessee.
Played at the college level or pro level? What they asked?
No, they asked about the college level. They played.
If he got as a letterman, then he played.
Well, no, yeah, but he never saw any time or not much playing time. So, but somebody asked whether he played college football. The answer is yes, at the University of Dayton.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good time to have Brandon on with his experience and talking about the Gruden story and to get some different insight. And also, I just heard him talking about the walk to the stadium or around the tailgates and whatnot. And that is definitely something I'm looking forward to. My walks to the stadium will actually be nice this year because I won't be rushing over from here to get to said stadium. I can just take my time and enjoy it. And I'm looking forward to that for the first time maybe ever. And I'm with them. I pop in some ear pods and a radio app, and I try to find a game, or AirPods. I try to find a game when I'm walking into the stadium, especially if there's something that's ongoing that's of interest. And then depending on when the game we're at is over with, you get in the car afterwards, and maybe there's like the fourth quarter. I love that. I love everything. The cool breeze in the air. Like you can feel it and sense it all right now. And it's lovely. It really is.
You know, when Garrett and I were doing the post game, one of the funniest things about that was we'd leave right at the end of the third quarter. And then sometimes it was funny because sometimes we get in the car, we turn on to listen to J-Mo and JJ and Ricky and trying to find out what's going on. If we hit it right, we don't miss anything. Like literally we didn't miss anything at all, almost in college football because we are close. But then there are those days where we don't hit it right. We miss a whole bunch of stuff. And then we get back here and you're like, in the 7 minutes that we've been in the car because we had to wait, for whatever, the whole college football world has melted down. But yeah, it's going to be nice. By the way, ear pods, not as bad as what my wife calls them. Amanda, I've had to break her of the habit of calling them AirBuds.
AirBuds.
AirBud is a golden retriever who plays basketball.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. I don't even know why. I don't ever say ear pods. I don't know why I said it in that moment.
I've done that. I've called them iPods or whatever.
AirBuds, though. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Earbuds.
Two golden retrievers.
Earbuds.
Yeah.
So they're AirPods, right?
AirPods.
Yeah. And
earbuds are fine.
Do you know I've lost like
generic.
3 pair of them and found them after buying another pair?
The timing of that is very odd because I actually lost some yesterday. Or I didn't lose them. I know where they are, but the pods fell out of the case. I had the case, not the pods. And so the pods are, congratulations to whoever found those at the Walmart yesterday or whatever.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, I had like a previous pair, so I always had a backup just in case. So I'm thankful for that. But yeah, somebody's walking around with some uncharged AirPods, but I looked into it and I guess they can find a way, like they can buy a case.
Yeah.
If they want to go to all that trouble, or maybe I ran over them. I don't know. But
listen,
just the timing of this conversation in light of yesterday, I'm just like, that's kind of odd. But
Craig, I hope you ran over them.
I hope I did too, honestly. I kind of do. I don't want to feel like I just gave some AirPods to somebody.
I don't want some slack-jawed dimwit that just picked them up to have the satisfaction.
With the Walmart I was at, that's probably a good bet that would be the case too. Yeah.
I seriously, I went through a stretch and I found them when I was cleaning out the back of my Ford Explorer, and I have the seats down because I lay my golf clubs there, and I opened them up because I was cleaning out some stuff, and bam, there it was. Right
you can
there.
track them. You know that, right?
Yeah, I can, but that's hard. That's
not really. It's really simple, actually.
Yeah.
But that's how I knew where mine were. I was like, why do I have an empty case? Oh, I remember when they fell out of my pocket, and I thought that, I just have them in my ears thinking they were a different. Anyways, nobody cares about that. So
there we
so
go.
there we go. There we go. Anyways.
We're now joined by the Hall of Famer himself and John McClain with us. The NFL is rolling. And John, obviously not much has changed with Micah Parsons and the Cowboys. We'll start with that and then get into much more. But is this just a matter of timing? Is it down to whether Micah's going to want to lose any money or not?
Well, Micah Parsons, since he's there, he's not getting fined $50,000 a day. But if he's not going to play, it's going to be different. And I saw a thing today on the ESPN's website by Bill Barnwell going over Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and now Micah Parsons about how the way Jerry Jones has negotiated those contracts has cost Jerry at least $84 million based on what he could have done when he could have done it, when everybody, media, fans, other people were telling him he should do it, but he didn't. And he points out in the story, other teams have had a lot of contractual problems, but players would have to sign for less money. They'd go to the mat and they'd sign for less money, whereas the Cowboys go to the mat and sign for more money. So there's never been a team that handles negotiations like Jerry Jones and the Cowboys do, and that bodes well for Micah Parsons. Does he want to be traded? Remember when Myles Garrett said he wanted to be traded?
Oh, yeah.
And somebody said, don't you want to go to Canton as a Cleveland Brown? No, I want to go to Super Bowl. Next thing you know, they give him what he wants. He signs. He's happy as can be and wants to go to Canton as a Cleveland Brown.
John, I read the Bill Barnwell piece, and the interesting part of it was, to me, is the Cowboys for some reason think that the savings are better on the back end than the front end. And they push these things all the way to the limit where guys like Anthony Spencer wound up walking after 2 franchise years in a row. And then they franchise tag some guys, and they'll use the franchise tag on Micah if this doesn't get done, when what everybody else did was roll that money into the front end on the last year of their rookie deal, like what Micah's trying to do right now. And then you save on the front end and you make it back on the back end. That's not what they're doing. They're doing the exact opposite.
If you say so, will you repeat that?
So, yeah. But
Cliff Notes.
Yeah. The Cliff Notes version is if they rolled the money into while they're still under contract and not let them get to free agency most of the time before they do this.
Kidding.
Yeah.
I got you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, they do it wrong, John. And there's all this drama that's unnecessary around them. But part of me thinks that Jerry also did this because 1 week from tonight, America's team debuts on Netflix.
And can you imagine the negativity that's coming from that when you show about how great life was under Jimmy Johnson and that one season under Barry Switzer when he won with Jimmy's players, and then how bad it's been since, how frustrating it's going to be. Yes, it's going to make Jerry look like a genius when it comes to money. He's got the most valuable franchise in the world. If you think about that, when he bought the team at Texas Stadium in '89, everybody thought he was crazy. And now the fact is his franchise, despite not being in a NFC championship game in 30 years, it's still the value just increases. And one of the reasons it does increase are things like Netflix documentaries, things like all these holdouts. Everything gets Jerry and the Cowboys more publicity, and the more publicity they get, the more valuable the franchise will be. Can you imagine if the Cowboys won 3 Super Bowls in the next 4 years, how valuable that franchise would be?
Man, yeah, crazy money for sure. John, I wanted to actually ask you about the Astros and Alex Bregman's homecoming. Carlos Correa back in the building as well. Bregman, obviously, with the big homer that was going all over the place last night on social media. Just how unique and sort of odd is that to watch as a Stros fan?
I was there last night, and I tweeted early in the game. We went really early like we always do. Usually we get in and no problem. I used Mattress Max, 4 of his tickets to 4 rows behind the Astros dugout, great parking right outside the gate entrance. And usually we just get right in. The lines were a mile long. They had some kind of giveaway, but the buzz at Daikin Park was like nothing I've seen in a regular season game in this franchise's history. And I started going with my parents once every summer to old Colt 45 Stadium in 1962. So I've been to Astros games at home every year that they've been in their existence, and I've never seen anything like it. And if Correa had not come back, it would have been a big deal, but not the electricity they had last night. And then they start Christian Javier, who had been one of their best pitchers, who had been out for 15 months after undergoing Tommy John surgery. And the Bregman tribute was great. You know, everybody was all over Alex, media, social media, both teams' social media departments, and the fans gave him standing ovations. But then when he came up in the first inning, people are still cheering for him. My wife's giving him a standing O, and I said, sit down. He's the enemy. He hits a 2-run homer. Next time he comes up, everybody boos him. That's the way it should have been. And then they got up 7-2, pulled it out 7-6. But, man, they've lost Josh Hader, the best closer in baseball, 28 of 29 saves in his save opportunities. He's on the IL. He had soreness in his left shoulder. Before he came to the Astros, he never pitched more than 1 inning. For some reason, last year, Joe Espada didn't have a problem pitching him 2. He did that Friday night, and he had a season-high 36 pitches, and then he showed up with a sore shoulder. Now all we know is he's going to be on the IL at least 15 days, and that means to me the Mariners will cruise past the Astros into first place, and if the Rangers can put together any kind of consistency, they could go by them as well. The only good, the Astros haven't had Yordan Alvarez since May the 4th. He's hitting off a tee in Florida. They still supposedly Luis Garcia, J.P. France. All these top 4 pitchers of Javier, Arrighetti, Garcia, and France have been out all year. Garcia's been out for 2 years, so they're coming back, but they don't have a closer. Brian Abreu, who's been great as the setup man, will become the closer. Knowing the grit and the determination this organization has shown this year, I think they will hang in the race. But I think Seattle is destined to win the division.
Yeah, Mariners aren't going to lose another game. Rangers had a nice win last night, but they're starting to kind of slip. They don't have any room for error. So what are your thoughts about John Gruden, the lawsuit with the NFL, when he was with the Raiders, the emails, et cetera? And we just had Brandon Marcello on from CBS Sports about the lure of perhaps college football in his future.
Pro Football Talk with Mike Florio. Mike's an attorney. He puts all legal situations in a way that I can see it. He said he laid it out. It'd be years before there's anything that we'll know for sure. I'll be dead by then. But I would love to know who is it at the NFL that leaked those emails to the New York Times and I think the Wall Street Journal that cost Gruden his job, and they should have cost Gruden his job because they were so racial. But on the other hand, they were supposed to be private, but it kept him from getting a job. Everybody knows it did. I think he does a great job. The best thing I've ever seen Gruden do was his quarterback camps before the draft. And I know he stays busy and he's made millions and millions and millions of dollars, but he's a coach. He wants to coach. Maybe Bill Belichick will hire him as offensive coordinator if Jordan approves it.
Jordan approves it. John, with that, like, it's just one of those things that happens in big corporate scandals, though, or whatever you want to say, where you ask a specific question like, hey, what's going on with Washington right now? And you're like, hey, guess what? Their old GM and John Gruden are racists. And you're like, well, okay, but is their owner stealing and sexually harassing women and all this stuff? Like, yeah. That's the leak to distract people. It was just so shady on that end. And like, I agree with everything you said. Should have been fired, all that. But one thing didn't really have anything to do with the other.
Nope. And hopefully someday it'll be determined in court, but I don't think it ever will. As far as Gruden coming back in the NFL, the emails are right there. Black players, I can't imagine they wouldn't have a problem with him doing it. But he's been on Barstool Sports and there hasn't been a big outcry to keep him off of anything. But I would like to know who linked that to the NFL. There was speculation it was Dan Snyder. There was speculation Roger Goodell was behind it. But we may never know because you know how these things are in court. Somehow you never, ever see them go up on the witness stand and have these big shots telling the truth. That'll never happen.
John, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Second Bears.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist with us on 365 Sports. We don't do it every week, but he's still working on that, has been working on that documentary of the old PVIL, the before integration and all the things that, all the interviews he's been doing. Next time we have him on, we'll bring that up to him. One note before we get to the top five. Do we have the Dan Wetzel, at least the tweet that I brought up to not use as a story or much of a discussion, but I wanted you to know that if you have not gone on ESPN or go to the ESPN Twitter feed, there's a story that Dan Wetzel, who's one of the best investigative stories, we've had Dan on many times. This story right here is just showing you the screenshot of his tweet is unbelievable. It's about young athletes who are being lured into a lot of bad situations. It's suicide involved in the end with many of them because they get lured into these text messages and DMs and can make a mistake or two. I sent Dan a note. I said, man, I got to tell you, it was gut-wrenching to listen to. He said, Smokey, it's a brutal story. The crime rings are ruthless. And so if you have not read that story, it's a dark story. It's not pleasant. But it's one, if you have any kind of relative, son, daughter, whoever, that's involved in youth sports, it's one that you may want to read or have them read.
Take the sports part out of it.
Yeah. Any scam that's going on right now.
And take the age out of it. But yeah, especially young people, and especially, I guess, young people that are maybe more online or sharing more online. But I've actually read stories like this previously. Dan did a great job with it, but I've read similar stories before that had nothing to do with sports. They were just teenagers who some dude from Africa got a hold of their Instagram account and got some DMs that were naughty and blackmailed them, and they're young and they don't know how to handle it, and they're scared to tell their parents or tell anybody because then they're afraid they're going to get in trouble. It's always one of those things, the trouble you put yourself in because of the trouble you're afraid of is always 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Always. So, like, yeah, you're better off just saying, hey, there's somebody threatening to blackmail me with nude photographs or this or that. And let it be known rather than trying to solve it because there's no solving it.
Yeah.
It just is more money and more threats and more blackmail. And it's a very interesting read. Like I said, I've read similar stories, so I kind of knew what I was walking into. But Dan does a great job, and he's a great writer. And, yeah, it's definitely a warning if you are somebody who has kids, especially that are online.
I'll just tell you, as someone who, I mean, it's not even like kids, it scares me, but I know I have elderly family members and friends who also have been scammed out of money because they, somebody will call up and say, hey, this is so-and-so. We're going to send the police, or we're coming to your house because you have unpaid this.
Yeah.
And you're like, don't get off the phone or they're going to arrest you. And all these people who don't, know how the police work or know how these things work, will go and get like, oh, that you have to pay cash to pay this fee. You're like, no, you can go on the website and pay a fee. Like it's a lot of it. I had a family member who thought they were in a relationship for over a few years. And
I didn't know you were related to Manti Te'o.
Yeah. It's the exact situation.
Yep,
it's the exact situation, and lost a ton of money. And now it's just it's a really, really sad thing. I have a friend here locally whose mother got scammed, and you just have to know, like, look, Netflix is not going to say, like, send you an email in blurry font saying, hey, your credit card is denied. Like, you can just go to the Netflix account and find out. Like, there's simpler ways, but they
don't respond to the emails.
Yeah.
I just had this experience a week ago. I sent somebody, hey, this bill looks higher. I'm like, it's not higher. No. Here's a bill. It's $40 higher. And I'm like, I'm looking at the website. It's not higher. So you got clearly a scam email that you were about to go pay because you didn't look any further.
No, I wasn't going to pay it, but I got it because I got my AT&T and it was a text. And I get a text that says that my bill is being processed or that one is out there, but it was much higher than what I normally would pay for a monthly cell phone bill. And so, I looked at it and it was odd. But then you can look at the email address. They try to make it look good, but it's always like 9 consonants. It's wrong. But I just wanted to throw out that story with Dan Wetzel and be careful.
Yeah, and really there's nothing that's being done at a law enforcement level to stop it.
Well, not much you can do, really.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I don't know what they can or cannot do, but if somebody's over in Africa and they're trying to scam people in Pennsylvania or something, like, I don't know how much reach you have to really do much about it. So, just be smart and be aware. And, great job by Dan on that story.
But the story's out there. It's on ESPN.com and also under the Twitter feed of ESPN before it gets knocked down with more stories that are about to happen. Paul Catalina and his top 5. Also, 2 super chats. Kim Coulter, Softy was the best interviewer of this offseason. Unfortunately, however, it appears we'll have to bribe him to come back giving his closing remarks. Yeah, we love the guy. He is absolutely incredible, and we've mentioned that. So thank you, Kim. Softy Mahler from KJR in Seattle, who we got to know prior to that Alamo Bowl, and he's been taking a shower ever since that. What was the final? What was the final of that game? 50-something with Baylor beating Washington and San Antonio. Justin, thank you very much. $10. They said some UFC pay-per-views will be on CBS. How long until UFC fans get upset when the fight night on CBS is delayed due to Iowa, Indiana going into 6 overtimes? Some of the WWE PLEs will be on ESPN.
Well, that's why you get Paramount Plus. You can go right to it.
I mean, that will be the drive. And thank you, Justin. That's very kind of you and much appreciated to send the super chat in and the $10 as well. Thank you very much for that. But I don't know if I mentioned on the WWE ESPN deal because we were kind of up against it there. So if I didn't, some of the pay-per-views that's the main thing was their pay-per-views will be on ESPN, but like they've got a separate deal for SmackDown and they've got Netflix for Monday Night Raw. So they're still kind of separated, but the pay-per-views the PLEs as they are premium live events. Those are going to be the draw for ESPN. Certainly if you're a WWE fan to sign up for that service. But that's something I thought about in regards to your UFC question like what happens when you're paying and all of a sudden they're putting it on CBS for free. Like, why am I paying for this? And you would think they're not going to put the smaller events on CBS. They're going to put the better ones on CBS. But I think that's a lot of we'll have to see the details of it to see how exactly that works. But I found that interesting as well of some of the shows will be on CBS. So talk about a platform jump for UFC.
Oh, yeah.
If you're on suddenly main CBS holding a fight card, that's a gigantic jump from where you were just a few years ago, or even recently with ESPN, to be on a main broadcast channel like that. So it's all very interesting. I guess my biggest takeaway is I need to see more details on it, but that the folks over at Endeavor are absolutely cleaning house the last couple of weeks with their new broadcast deals. So you got stock in TKO. I don't know if it's changed very much, but they've definitely added a whole lot of money to their haul these upcoming next few years between UFC and WWE.
Remember, Yormark got them involved in the Big 12 during a lot of the stuff when they were going through all the changes in conference realignment, had one of their representatives on. It was fantastic. When we come back, thank you for the super chats. We always love them and appreciate them and never take them for granted. Paul's Top 5 is next. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store. Located on Lake Air Drive in Waco, And the weekly specials include 10% off all fresh shrimp. I cook a lot, and I try to cook once or twice a week. This kind of more of a casserole, like chicken spaghetti or jambalaya. Made some jambalaya last week. But I love shrimp. Absolutely, I could eat shrimp on anything. I really could. And 10% off on all of their fresh shrimp. They have a full-service butcher shop. You walk in the door, it's off to your left. They got a lobster tank, live lobsters, pick and choose what you want, and then seafood, and then pork and poultry, and then the back, the little bit larger section with, of course, anything from hamburger meat to unbelievably good-looking tomahawk ribeyes and more. Thin sliced chicken breast for $3.25 a pound. Tri-tip, $6.89 a pound, which is good, really good when it comes to tailgating. They have choice and prime beef fillets at $25.90 to $33.50 a pound, and scallops seafood. I'm not a big scallops, like Craig likes scallops, for $24 a pound. Plus all of what you need, the knickknacks and more. Hometown grocery store feeling. It is Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome to Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. And if you've ever said to yourself, and I don't blame you if you have, man, woman, or otherwise, damn, that Paul's a handsome fella. I wonder where he gets those snazzy shirts he wears. I get them at flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Today, Top 5, we're going to go through my preseason favorite players in the country at every position. Today, we're going to start with quarterbacks, and we're calling them the Cadillac. You know, Cadillac. We do puns here. Number 5. Eventually. There we go. Probably didn't want to come up because most people don't want to believe he's number 5. But I'm going to give this guy some chance to grow. I think next year will be amazingly better for Arch Manning than even this year could be potentially, because that team will have had more time to gel. Still think that Sark's going to have a really good team and Arch is going to have a really good year. But before we start giving them a Heisman Trophy and the Walter Camp Award and all these things right away, let's let him start and play a full season. That being said, He's got one of the best QB coaches in the country. He's got one of the best rosters in the country surrounding him, even though they haven't played a lot together yet. And he's going to have a great running game, which is all recipe for a successful season for a quarterback. Number 4, Sam Levitt at Arizona State. How could you not love Sam Levitt if you're a football fan? This guy is tough. He loves it when you doubt him. He can rally his team. And look, no Cam Scatterbo, I think no problem. They've got enough players around him to make up for that. The culture is there. The attitude is there. And Sam Levitt's ready to have a big season. Would not surprise me to see him be the top quarterback taken in next year's draft if he really shoots up the charts. Not a homer pick because he's right down the street. Number 3, Sawyer Robertson. I think he's maybe the most, I don't know, he's not slept on, but when it comes to ranking quarterbacks, he gets ranked a little lower than I think his performance stretched out over a 12-game season if he stays healthy will suggest. He, in his first couple of opportunities to play at Baylor, he was not healthy. The first year had to suffer through a ton of injuries, a really bad ankle injury that he sustained against Utah. And really, even when he had to pull backup duty, was never quite healthy the entire year. Same thing the next year. Now, after a fantastic year and a good run to close the year, one of the more warmly thought about QBs in the country, and someone I think is going to make a really good NFL player one day. But I think he's going to show out in this offense. Look, he got Ashton Hawkins back. He's got Josh Cameron back. He's got Michael Trigg back. He's got his top weapons back. Losing Dawson Pendergrass in the running game hurts a little bit, but he still has Bryson Washington, and the Bears should be able to control the ball on offense much better than they have in previous seasons. Number 2, Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. This dude stays healthy. LSU scores a ton of points. Bottom line, end of story. Do like their backup quarterback, too, Michael, if Nuss should suffer some injuries. But if he's healthy and upright and they finally bring a true running game to Baton Rouge again, LSU is going to win a lot of games. And the biggest one starts on the road at Clemson, first game of the year. Big game for Nuss. It's a big game. He'll show out. The problem is he's going up against our number 1 quarterback in the Cadillac rankings. By the way, I have a Texas quarterback at number 5 and a Clemson quarterback at number 1. So if you want to say that I live in the world of biases when I grew up in an Aggie family and I'm a Florida State grad, maybe I do, but I say this all gritting through my teeth, admitting how good these dudes are. And Cade Klubnik is going to be as good as anybody this year. Don't think he actually ascends to the highest point in the draft because of his size, but I do think that he will have a fantastic year. I think he's going to be a Heisman candidate all year long. He is a dual threat quarterback. He's an absolute gamer. He and Garrett Riley are finishing each other's sentences now when it comes to the offense, which was not the case in year 1, really started to be the case down the stretch last year in year 2 together, and this year in year 3, it should charge ahead. They finally have some weapons for him on the outside. The lines are back to being what they were. The biggest question is, can the running backs produce at Clemson to the level that the previous guys have? Given their history, probably. Dabo Swinney picks a running back. They're usually pretty damn good. That is going to do it. Top 5, all Cadillac. Again, we do punts here. Quarterbacks, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. We've got polls, and we're going to read them. Because why wouldn't we?
Yeah, no, we should, because Andrew spends a lot of time putting them together. So here are the poll results from a couple of them from earlier today. Are the Longhorns headed for their upside down logo? Holy crap.
Shots fired.
That's bias. Andrew with some venom in his skin. I mean,
look at the votes on that.
Are the first of all, 62% are idiots.
I guess we want no Texas audience.
Yeah. I mean, Paxton is like, he weathers the storm. There's a few others, but we haven't seen UT Parker in a while. Are the Longhorns headed for their greatest season ever? Well, that's hard because 05 was undefeated, 63, 69, 71 national titles. No way. 62%. That's not like completely against it because, I mean, the greatest season ever, they're going to have to run the table.
Again, look, 731 votes. That's a big result for us.
No, I know.
That's some aura farming there.
I think part of this is the backlash, Paxton being so negative about John Mateer and his Venmo account. Maybe is 26, 12% say yes. 731 votes. That's the highest, I think, ever, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's close.
Is that there may be one that trickled into over 1,000. So I said no way, only because they would have to run the table. All right, next one. Which NFL broadcast does the game day best? To me, that's not even close. It's the way it looks. It's the cameras. It's the guys. It's the way they do it. Fox was my pick. I didn't know how everybody else would react to it. 57% overwhelmingly is the pick for the best NFL broadcast on game day.
I'm going to miss Jimmy Johnson this year for sure. They've officially replaced him full-time with Gronk. So a bit of a different perspective on things, Gronk and Jimmy Johnson. But, they'll still have Strahan and Terry Bradshaw.
Dude, they needed to actually lose some numbers. Like, they looked ridiculous last year. It looked like the CNN presidential debate panels with 25 people on stage. Yeah.
CBS, the thing that they have a lot of people on their desk, and if for some reason, I don't know if it's the music or the way, it just always looks like we love some of the guys on there. We've had them, but it just doesn't seem the same. NBC, Sunday night, I guess, is what they're talking about.
Yeah.
That's usually pretty strong.
It's strong numbers-wise, but as far as, rolling out Jason Garrett to tell me something and make me excited. And look, I don't, it's nothing against him personally. I sat through enough Jason Garrett press conferences live and in person in my life to where when I'm watching the biggest game of the week, I don't want to hear him tell me about it.
Yeah, I think I'd go with Fox as well. CBS is fine. NBC's.
What does fine mean to you, Craig?
It's fine. It's fine. It doesn't move the needle at all for me. It's okay. Like, I can watch it.
It's like a restaurant you'll go to, but it's just because it's there.
I mean, it'll fill my belly, but I didn't think it's the greatest thing ever, and I'm not going to talk about it much afterwards. But I think Fox is my clear choice, and I don't get super into the announcers, like the breakdowns of announcers. People get into that the same way they get into talking about a quarterback and stuff, and I just don't listen that intently. I'm not trying to critique the announcers, but some people really do that. So, you got a lot of people love Greg Olsen. I think he does a good job. There's a lot of people that hate Jason Garrett or whatever. It's just honestly, the announcers are kind of just background to me. Yeah. I'm not really focused on them. So as far as just the production and all of that, but the total package, if you do want to include announcers, then I'm going to Fox and not even second guessing that.
Now, I do love Buck and Aikman for sure. I mean, love Buck and Aikman, but their pregame presentation, I mean, nobody's got anything. Fox is the one who innovated it. So it's why can't everybody catch up with them? Well, they're the ones who innovated the pregame in the first place.
Yeah. And Amazon's not on here. That's the one night a week. They do an okay job. It's okay. It's
I don't ever get to watch that one, or I don't for some reason.
The games weren't very entertaining last year, and the post, by the time they got to the post game, I just didn't care. So I didn't watch much of Tony Gonzalez and Carissa Thompson and that whole crew of people. Andrew Whitworth, I think, was on there, and
Richard Sherman.
Oh, Richard. Yeah, see, I'm not a big Richard Sherman fan, and so maybe that's part of my decision as well. But yeah, Amazon did it okay. They all do fine, but I think Fox does it the best. Yeah.
Carissa Thompson is Jennifer's favorite broadcaster. She
I feel like
does
they
a
would be
podcast
friends.
with
Aaron
Andrews that is priceless. And she always, every once in a while, will text me a little bit about did you hear what Carissa Thompson said? All right, Garrett Ross, thank you very much. Wearing his Washington, is that the Nationals hat? Is that Washington Nationals? That's what I thought. Brandon Rowe is gaining some experience. And then, of course, Andrew Valet, Jiu-Jitsu, thank you very much for what he does every day. Who was the guy earlier, the kid?
Grant.
Okay, Grant. Grant was here for just a short term. Watched over Brandon's shoulder. Said, this is easy. I'll be back for more. Paul Catalina, thank you. Craig Smoak, thank you. Our great sponsors. Thank you to our audience. We appreciate you. Good night, 365 Sports.